All right. Good evening, everybody. Happy Sunday to you. We are live from Los Angeles, California, as Iran unveils a new supreme leader in the middle of one of the most dangerous moments the Middle East has seen in
of
decades.
The ongoing Operation Epic Fury.
Let me pause that for a second. War is erupting across the region. Strikes, counterstrikes, proxy attacks. Good evening, everyone. Come in. Breaking news here. A new supreme leader has been chosen. While Donald Trump and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu demand full surrender from Iran and the network that has all of its proxies, drawing yet another lethal line in the sand. So tonight we're asking one massive question. Does this new supreme leader pull Iran back from the edge or drive it straight through every red line on the table? So we're going to break down who the new leader is, what their first moves and messages tell us, and how Washington, Jerusalem, and the rest of the region are reacting in real time. So hit subscribe, smash the like button so this stream gets pushed while we're live. And let me know in the chat, do you think this leadership change makes war more likely or peace even harder to reach? So let's have a listen.
Some new information about exactly who's in charge following these U.S. and Israel airstrikes that took out the supreme leader, as we're hearing from Reuters, as they have selected the Ayatollah's son to be in charge. You can see this from Reuters' Phil Stewart here on this Sunday, saying a senior Iranian clerk involved in the vote to choose a new supreme leader indicated the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's son, Mojtaba, will be the successor, although a formal announcement was awaited after Israel threatened whoever was chosen.
Hit that like button, guys.
A member of the Assembly of Experts follows a growing expectation that Mojtaba, a hardline cleric of his father, would be named as supreme leader, a position giving him the final say on all matters in the state of the Islamic Republic, the IRGC. It goes on to say, if confirmed, the move could draw the ire of the United States President Donald Trump, who has said he should have a role in the choice of the next leader, a demand Iran has roundly rejected. The name of Khamenei will continue. This from the assemblyman said in a video published in Iranian media, as Israel expanded strikes on Iran to include fuel depots, and Bahrain blamed Iran for a strike on the desalination plant. The vote has been cast and will be announced soon without providing further details. But this is a major development in the ongoing conflict there, as they have selected a new supreme leader, as they are close to making potentially that announcement public. And Israel, the Defense Force, has vowed to, quote, pursue every successor and every person who seeks to appoint a successor. President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu have both pledged to continue to hit Iran hard. And while it wasn't necessarily amongst the main objectives of the United States, those main goals were to take out ballistic missile sites, as well as limit their nuclear capabilities. Obviously, this on the forefront of the president, as he has noted that he would hope to have a say in exactly who comes next with the head of the Islamic Republic there, but potentially the son of Khamenei, the supreme leader, now chosen as his successor. But we also noted that the United States and Israel will continue to hit Tehran hard. We saw some video last night of some fuel and oil refineries being struck, as Israel saying that these were being used by military assets. We're also hearing from lawmakers back here at home saying that they hope the United States, the White House, continue to hammer that region. We're also learning new information right now as another U.S. service member tragically losing their lives during this ongoing conflict, bringing the total now to 7. This from Central Command, talking about an update. A U.S. service member passed away from the injuries received during the Iranian regime's initial attacks across the Middle East. The service member was seriously wounded at the scene of an attack on the U.S. troops in the United Kingdom, or the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, on March the 1st. This is the 7th service member killed in action during Operation Epic Fury. The major combat operations will continue. The identity of the fallen warrior will be withheld until 24 hours after next of kin were notified. And this also comes some 24 hours or so after we saw this, the dignified transfer.
And we covered this dignified transfer yesterday.
At home
the live stream from yesterday.
Air base there, as President Trump in attendance along with
At
First
Dover
Lady.
Air Force Base. Let's listen to a little more coverage on this Moshtaba, the son of Khomeini, the new supreme leader. Let's go.
All right, and we want to bring you some breaking news now. We have word that the new supreme leader has been announced, and that will be Moshtaba Khamenei. That is the supreme leader's son. Joining us now to talk more about this is Ali Hashim, who has extensively covered Iran and has been following this leadership selection process very closely. Ali, what can you tell us about what we can expect now that the supreme leader has been named?
Well, now, first of all, that Moshtaba Khamenei has been announced officially as Iran's third supreme leader. This is the end of a chapter and the beginning of a new chapter at the time of war. So Moshtaba Khamenei is now supposed to lead the country in the time of war. Of course, this election would have a lot of controversy given the fact that he is succeeding his father.
I don't know.
There are going to be accusations of family succession. You know, the Islamic Revolution came in 1979 to end the monarchy. So this is going to be one of the issues that he will face as an accusation. Yet he will have to lead the country at a very difficult time. There are security threats to him. The United States, Israel, both are threatening to kill him, just like they did with his father. So there is going to be a lot of challenges facing him, first of all, to lead the country in the time of war, and at the same time to make sure to bring together the Iranians at the time when they are already divided. You know, just a few weeks ago, there were protests in the country. So it's going to be a really very heavy challenge for him.
Do we know much about who he is? I mean, we obviously know who his father is. We know who his family is. But do we know much about him, what he stands for, and what he could stand for going forward, given that we are in extraordinary circumstances here?
Well, Moshtaba Khamenei comes from the school of theology that is known to be, I mean, it's described as a hardline school.
That is Moshtaba right there.
He adopts the positions of his father with respect to the United States, with respect to Israel. So we are expecting a confrontational leader. We're not expecting any moderation. We're not expecting any negotiation-seeking leader. However, if this war comes to an end and he is still alive and he is able to continue running the country, there is going to be a big potential seeing him there at this position to find the new routes for Iran. This is one. On the second side, he is, of course, a cleric that's been teaching the highest levels of religious studies. And at the same time, he is well connected within the country. He's been described as a shadow influencer in the country. And over here, I'm talking about political influence.
Right.
So he has a very good connections with the IRGC, very good connections with the security body of the country.
So these other branches of the country will know who they're about to be dealing with.
They know him very well because he used to be his father's gatekeeper. And any coordination with other power bases or centers in the country used to be through him. So he knows very well the country. He knows very well how things are run in the country. And given the fact his connections with IRGC and the security body, this could give him a lot of leverage. Also, he has his own he's part of the deep state. So he used to influence political changes in the country, and he's well aware of what's going on around him. So given the fact he is coming to succeed from the position of someone who knew how the situation is, he is a continuation of his father's reign for 37 years. We'll see another Khamenei coming to power. However, we're seeing a younger Khamenei, probably with also some new ideas. He's not a copy of his father, but the
influence may be there
still. We've never heard him talking.
Right.
We've never seen him except in some very rare pictures. So we are yet to hear from him.
How many days do you think this guy has?
We are yet to see how he is going to deal with the new status quo. I mean, his country is in the middle of war. How is he going to deal in the situation of war? How is he going to emerge from this war?
These are all for me, guys. Help me out with the
kind of define
algorithm.
His own leadership.
And given that we haven't seen him speak publicly, that we don't know much about maybe which track he is going to take, for people who may have been thinking that potentially a new supreme leader could be a route to diplomacy, a route to opening those diplomatic channels. In your estimation, is that likely to be the case?
Well, for now, no. This is a confrontational leader. He comes on, I mean, his father's blood was just shed a few days ago, 10 days ago. So he holds this legacy, he carries this legacy, the legacy of his father's blood. So he's the son of the martyr in the eyes of the revolution. And this is part of the legacy, or let me say the legitimacy that he is, or his team is just trying to present him within. So he's the son of the martyr who came to take the revenge for the martyr. This is the revolutionary Iran's point, I mean, let me say, perspective. Now, how is he going to be received by others? Because inside Iran, of course, there's going to be a pushback. There's going to be those who are going to criticize this selection or this election, because some of them will believe, especially within the other parties under the Islamic Republic, they're going to see this as changing the pillars of the Republic and changing the pillars of the revolution that came in 1979.
So there's many things to watch. I want to bring Mohammed Val back in from Tehran for us, because, Mohammed, one of the things that we've been talking about is how Israel has been saying that they will be looking out for who is named the next supreme leader, that person is in danger, that person is in their sights, and so are the people who elected this new supreme leader. I wonder, how do you think they're going to be able to secure him, or what kind of danger he'll be under as of right now that his name's been announced?
Right, that's a very big question here in Iran, and also the election of Mujtaba Khamenei is clearly an act of defiance on the part of the Iranian leadership here, because he's the man President Trump mentioned in name, saying that he's a lightweight, and he's in the position now that Israel has threatened to kill him anyways. So, I mean, it's really a precarious situation for the new supreme leader, and probably the delay in announcing his name has to do with preparations to make sure that he's safe. We don't know how that is going to be done, but we know that the Israelis just 2 nights ago sent 50 aircraft and dropped 100 bombs, according to what they said, on a location that was, they said a bunker that was to be used by the late Khamenei, but he didn't have time to go into it, and that they had information that probably some of the leaders were hiding in that bunker the night the raid took place. So the Israelis are really, serious in their threats. The Americans also are going to be unhappy, according to what we heard from President Trump. Here, the message by the Iranians is that this is an act or decision that is an act of defiance. The Iranians are not listening to foreign recommendations or foreign control of their country. The country is independent. Iran selects its own leaders according to its own constitution. And also on the part of the new supreme leader himself, it's an act of potential sacrifice. He knows the probable consequences of his election, and he has chosen to go ahead and assume this role. We understand that as per the Iranian political traditions and constitution, the supreme leader in waiting does not present his own candidacy for that. He does not suggest himself. So he must have been chosen by others, but he also has to consent to that. And that is the situation now. The new supreme leader has been announced. It's an act of defiance. He knows the consequences, and the country is bracing for probable assassination also, but the Iranians are defiant.
And Ali, Mohammed makes a very good point that, number one, there's no evidence that the American president had any hand in making this election as he wanted to do. And two, obviously, Khamenei will know now that there is a big target on his back. But I wonder how you think people in Iran, on the streets of Tehran, will react when they hear this news.
Well, they're already hearing now. So, as I told you, there is going to be a lot of controversy when it comes to this election. There are those who are going to embrace it, given the fact that Mujtaba Khamenei is now positioned as the son of the martyr and also the father of a martyr, because his daughter was killed in the attack, his wife was killed in the attack, his sister was killed in the attack, his mother was killed in the attack, and his father also. So he comes from this family. This is easier for the system in Iran to push forward Khamenei's name, Mujtaba Khamenei's name, because he holds all this baggage with him. And given the fact this is an Islamic system, and mainly it's the Shia side of Islam that is built upon martyrdom, so this could help him a lot in proving himself at the time of war. Yet, politically, there is going to be a lot of pushback. This is going to probably have its own impact, not now, probably after the war, because now it's time of war. Everyone is caring more on how the country is going to continue. So the debate right now is going to be more at the moment of war on the continuity rather on what happened and how this is really hitting the pillars of the revolution.
And Mohammed, to you, Ali was talking about how the new supreme leader is going to be a wartime supreme leader, and he's coming out of this immediately in this system of war. But there will also be many domestic issues to contend to as well. So I wonder what are going to be the main things that he'll be dealing with within the country, not just from a period of war.
Well, the primary on that list could be national consensus over him. He's a sort of unknown figure, even though he's very well known, but he's unknown in terms of his personality because he doesn't speak a lot, he doesn't attend a lot of meetings and gatherings and so on, but he is known to be one of the hardliners, and he's known to be very close to the Revolutionary Guard and to the Basij. So, I mean, for some people, particularly the reformists, they may not be happy with his election because they think that we are back to the square one. We have been trying to change the country to what we like, to the better, closer to liberalism and so on. But now and this is understandable because at a time of war, you need strong leaders. You need leaders who will stick to the line of resistance, of defiance, and so on. And probably the Assembly of Experts have put that into consideration at this particular moment. The appointment of someone, for instance, like Hassan Rouhani, who is seen here as a very compromising leader, who some people even describe him as the Gorbachev of Iran, a person who is very likely to strike deals that might compromise the interests of Iran. Well, I'm just saying what is being circulated here. Mm-hmm. The selection of that person could be seen inside Iran and even outside Iran as an act of some kind of surrender to the will of the Americans and the Israelis at a time of war. So the Iranis don't like to be seen as showing weakness here. And the hardline approach that has led to the election of this new supreme leader is a result in the minds of many people here of what is going on, of the aggression against Iran, and Iran needs really to show toughness.
And Ali, your thoughts on that?
Well, there is something really ironical here. When Khamenei, the father, was elected at the time when the war was ending, the war between Iraq and Iran in 1989, it was the beginning of the end. And now Khamenei, the son, is being elected in the middle of a war. Mm-hmm. So we're seeing two different paths. And this is going also to shape Mujtaba Khamenei's experience in his, this all depends on whether the Iranian security and military will be able to preserve his life, to keep him away from assassinations, to defend him. These are all challenges that the security and military system are going to face, besides what he's going to face. Also, from now on, there is going to be one man taking the decisions in this war. At least he is going to be directing. I mean, there's an institution that helps in taking the decision, but yet we will see his own approach, and how this approach is going to be. Probably within the coming hours, we should be hearing from him. We should be hearing his manifesto. We should be hearing what he is promising the Iranian people, the region, and the world.
All right, Ali Hashem here with me, and Mohammed Val in Tehran. Thank you both for your analysis on this breaking news.
Wow.
Now let's bring in some of our guests to discuss these latest developments. Mark Kimmett is a retired American general and a former assistant secretary for political military affairs. He's in Washington, D.C., and in Boston, we have Rami Khouri, a distinguished fellow at the American University of Beirut. Thank you both for being with us. General Kimmett, I will go to you first.
Leader of Iran.
How does the election of the new supreme leader change the strategy of the U.S. and Israel in this, if at all?
Is that Moshtaba in the chat
Candidly,
right
I don't
there?
think it changes anything except for the aggressive talk by Benjamin Netanyahu that he is going to end the theocracy inside the country, and anybody they pick as a supreme leader will be eliminated. But in many ways, this adds a little stability to the situation. And if you're like me, where I believe this war will end at the negotiating table, this is a movement towards stability.
Rami, I want to bring you in on this because I'd like to get your thoughts as well. Just right off the top on this breaking news of Iran's new supreme leader, Moshtaba Khamenei, the son of the former supreme leader, being named.
Thank you.
What are your initial thoughts when you hear that name?
Well, Riley, I think this kind of confirms what General Kimmett said, and this is a continuation of what Iran has had since 1979. This is the Wilayat al-Faqih, the ruling system, with clerical rule under a supreme leader, with the addition of the IGRC, the Republican Guard, the National Republican Guard, Revolutionary Guards. And these are institutions that are very well established, and the guards are the most important institution in the whole country, probably, with the clerics. But they control business, they control guns, they control.
That's him right there.
Management of the system.
That is the new
in many ways, and they're massive. And they
that is Moshtaba Khomeini.
Control hundreds of thousands of people that they can bring to the streets. So I think this is a sign of continuity. Whether it ends up pushing for a negotiated resolution of ending the war, what will happen after that will be seen, because it'll be totally different circumstances. How much the Iranian people suffer, how much people keep threatening it. So these are unknown factors. But for the moment, I think this is kind of an act of defiance as well, telling the Americans and the Israelis, you wanted to get rid of our system? Well, you know, in your face, here's a more radical person than the guy who was his father who was assassinated. And so this is a sign of continuity, and we'll see what that brings.
All right, so let's go on to it. Wow, look at that. There he is right there. That is Moshtaba Khomeini, the son of the Ayatollah Khomeini, who has just been recently dispatched and sent off to his end. All right, so let's take a look at a little more coverage on this. We got a lot of stuff to get to tonight, guys. Hit the like button. So glad you're here. Welcome, everybody.
Iran naming its new supreme leader, Moshtaba Khamenei. He's the son of the late supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. I want to bring in CNN's Jeremy Diamond, who is standing by in Tel Aviv as we get this breaking news. Jeremy, what are you hearing from your sources?
Yeah, Jessica, this is just in from Iran's Assembly of Experts. This is the body of senior Iranian clerics responsible for electing the next supreme leader. And they have now chosen, just over a week after the assassination of the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, they have chosen his son, Moshtaba Khamenei, as his successor. He is a 56-year-old who is known for having close ties to the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. And he will, in large part, his selection here will in large part be viewed as a continuation of his father's rule and quite a hardline kind of stance for this Iranian body of experts.
Let's get that over 100 likes, guys. Hit that like button for me. Thank you.
To be choosing as the next supreme leader of Iran. The two other candidates who had been in the running to potentially be named as the next supreme leader were viewed as the more moderate candidates. And so clearly these senior Iranian clerics choosing to kind of continue the legacy of the Ayatollah Khamenei, who ruled for decades in Iran, by choosing another Khamenei, Mojtaba Khamenei. Interestingly, he was also apparently among the individuals who were targeted in those opening Israeli strikes last Saturday, which saw the killing of the former supreme leader as well as dozens of other senior Iranian officials. Mojtaba Khamenei was wounded in that strike, according to reports. His wife was also killed in that very same strike. So now we see the direction that Iran is heading in the wake of the assassination of the longtime supreme leader. It's also important to note that this is someone who President Trump has said would be unacceptable to him in terms of leading Iran in the future. The president had said in an interview with Axios a few days ago that Mojtaba Khamenei was a, quote, lightweight, and that choosing him was unacceptable, that this would be viewed as something that would kind of continue the direction of Iran. President Trump, of course, has said that he would like to have a say in the future direction of Iran, kind of likening this to the same scenario that just happened in Venezuela. But we are watching as this, very heavily ingrained system in Iran that has ruled the country for decades is remaining in power and electing another Khamenei as its next leader.
All right, Jeremy, I want you to please stand by. We're going to come back to you. I do want to go to Fred Pleiken, our colleague who is in Tehran. Fred, what are you hearing about this, the new supreme leader?
Hi there, Jessica. Well, this announcement was made, I would say, about 20 minutes ago on Iranian state TV. It was a very low-key announcement. It was basically read out. They broke into their newscast and give you a sense of what happened there on Iran.
All right, we can't hear this guy. I don't know what's wrong with their audio. Probably because he's in the middle of the desert. So let's move on to another channel, giving it a little coverage. I like to show you guys all of the different angles of coverage here.
Let's go back to Imtiaz Tayyab, who
you get to have news from all sides, make your own judgment decisions.
Is joining us now from Doha, Qatar, on the phone. Imtiaz, our own senior correspondent here at CBS News, Matt Gutman, had let us know that he asked Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's advisor, Michael Eisenberg, today about Mojtaba Khamenei today, and that his advisor basically called him a dead man walking, per your point that you were telling us within the last half hour. Eisenberg telling Matt, the highest risk job right now is to be the new Ayatollah. Those are high-risk jobs. Don't take them. Matt followed up with, they're going to be targeted. Eisenberg saying, don't take those jobs. Prime Minister Netanyahu has been incredibly clear about this. These are high-risk jobs. We're watching it. What do you make of that?
It absolutely is. Look, it's very clear that by being elected, the new supreme leader by this 88 board, member council, again, a signal to Iranians and indeed the world that the system is still intact. It is still able to function in the way that it has been, despite the fact so much of it has been decimated, that they are under extraordinary incoming from the U.S. They want to signal not only is the system, not only is the regime intact, but more importantly, they have this continuity candidate who happens to be the son of the former supreme leader.
No.
Again, as we were saying when we were speaking earlier, I can't think of a more antagonistic selection for supreme leader than Mojtaba Khamenei, at least when it comes to President Trump and indeed to the Israeli leadership. How the Iranian state will protect them and keep them safe, given what we've seen time and again, which is the deep intelligence on the ground that the U.S. and Israel has inside Iran, again, able to kill the supreme leader within the very first hours of their war in Iran, or with Iran, rather. It does seem that Mojtaba Khamenei most certainly is is under a lot of threats and is no doubt somewhere very secure. But again, it also seems that for the...
So let me know in the chat, do you think this new supreme leader makes Iran more likely to escalate or more open to negotiation?
Iranian regime
What do
and
you guys
those
think?
who are leading it, and the most powerful forces, it has to be said, inside Iran, are the Revolutionary Guard Corps, who are, again, this potent, powerful military force, who Mujtaba Khamenei, it has to be said, has spent a lot of time cultivating very close ties with. It is one of the things that has become the most notable sort of fact point or data point about him is again and again you will read and you will hear from people who say he is very close to the Revolutionary Guard. And so whether he is just a figurehead, although one would imagine, given the fact that he was the son of the very all-powerful supreme leader.
Like and subscribe, guys. Like and subscribe.
Some sort of junior position, that we can expect more of the same. Some even going further, suggesting that he's even more hardline than his father, even more extreme than his father. At this stage, we just don't know who Mujtaba Khamenei, as supreme leader, is going to be. Again, this is a man who has never given a public speech. This is a man who has been seen but not heard. And so what he is going to say to the Iranian people, what he is going to say to President Trump and indeed the Israeli leadership, I think much of what happens in the next coming hours, potentially days and weeks, will hinge on what we hear from him.
Imtiaz, I am curious, before we go back to Courtney Keeley with some analysis on this, if you can tell me what day-to-day life has been looking like in Doha, we would appreciate it.
Yeah, I think it's a really important part of this equation. Yes, the U.S. and Israel and Iran are central to everything that we're talking about right now. But the Gulf has really been absorbing some of the biggest shocks here. Iran, of course, under fire, and we're seeing in Lebanon as well. But the Gulf, again, because there are so many U.S. military bases here in the region, the Iranian leadership has effectively said everything is up for grabs because Gulf territory is being used to target us. It is now a target for us. And to give you a window on just how things are looking on the ground, Kuwait City, just this morning, a strike set the country's main social security headquarters on fire. Again, this is... You have to understand, Kuwait has one of the most powerful currencies in the world. One Kuwaiti dinar is worth around $10. It just gives you a sense of the wealth and the sort of comfort that people are used to in this part of the world. You know, largely have created these economies where they've insulated themselves from the wars that you've seen just grip so many other parts of the Middle East, and within a week that feels for many of them shattered. Again, you know, the UAE, Bahrain, other Gulf states say their air defenses are still intercepting Iranian missiles and drones every single day. And we also heard that at least one water desalination plant was targeted. And this is significant because targeting a water desalination plant, not only is it a potential war crime because millions of people rely on it, it means that not only is energy infrastructure being targeted, that is oil and gas, it also means the very thing that people need to survive, water, is now being targeted. And so for Gulf kingdoms who are incredibly wealthy, incredibly powerful, have huge influence over this president who has many deep business ties to this part of the world, he is no doubt listening to them and their concerns. Again, as we've been saying, just last night, the president had a very long conversation with the emir of Qatar, a person he has very close ties to. You have to remember, Qatar is a country which has gifted the president an Air Force One. That is how close this relationship is. And so the president, no doubt, is calculating and recalculating in real time how to move forward, managing the needs of the U.S. and Israel, but also allies in the Gulf region who are saying, listen, our economies, our societies cannot sustain this because the longer this continues, the more we have to slow or reduce our oil and gas capacity, which means at some point this is going to have a knock-on effect in the global economy. In fact, Qatar's own energy minister warning that if things don't improve soon, oil prices could surge to over $150 a barrel. So the question right now for the Trump administration is, can they, while they continue this war on Iran or in Iran, can they keep global energy moving while this war continues, or whether the economic shock spreads far beyond the battlefield and into the wallets of everyday Americans?
Imtiaz Tayyab, we really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Let's go back now to CBS News Middle East contributor Courtney Keeley. Just your thoughts as we have been in this continuing coverage of the fact that Iran has appointed its new supreme leader.
Right, the third leader in its 47-year history. And it really is important to note that this is a father-to-son transfer, something that the Islamic Republic, that was based on clerical rule, broke away from with the Shah. So he's not, Mojtaba Khamenei, it does not have he's not as a high-ranking religious cleric as one might be as the supreme leader, but he will be in charge of the military, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, the elite Al-Quds force that includes intelligence, and the nuclear policy. So he's considered a hardliner. He was considered a gatekeeper of his father's regime. We'll be expecting to hear similar decision-making that his father made. And remember, when the supreme leader speaks, that is the ultimate decision that is made, not the president, not a security chief, regardless of who's standing behind him and supporting him or not supporting him. He will be making these decisions, and now we will start looking to him to know what this regime is going to say in the future. He's most likely in hiding. We don't know if he's in Tehran, and we do know that he's definitely on the target list.
There he is.
What do you mean by he was a gatekeeper for his father?
57-year-old son of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei.
He worked out of the Supreme Leader's office. His dad was the Supreme Leader. His dad was a Grand Ayatollah. As you said before when we were speaking, Khamenei had been sort of gifted more religious creds than he actually had after Khomeini, Ayatollah Khomeini, who took charge and returned from exile in Paris, and then he lasted in power for 10 years. So Khatami's father was in power for 37 years. Oof. And Mojtaba Khamenei, who has it's been spoken for a while that he might become the leader because his father was ill. It was before this war. His name had been named as a possible successor. The one problem is it's father to son that has a bit of a monarchical. Well, you know, father to son, not the succession of the clerical success. Yes.
I understand what you mean.
Right. Well, we'll get back to Farsi words and see if we can pronounce those. So Khamenei, Mojtaba Khamenei, it looks like sort of a dynastic succession as opposed to clerical rule. But in times of war, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard is strengthened, especially that Al-Quds force, and he apparently had their backing. And while generals and top leaderships of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard keep switching because of the war, because there's so many people targeted, it does not seem like it's fractured enough to be in any way endangering the regime's hold on the people, despite all of these airstrikes.
Well, they never finish a sentence, huh? Let's jump over to this right here. We are going over to Bahrain to show you there was an attack on a desalination plant earlier from Iran. Let's have a look.
To talk more on this, I do want to bring in co-founder and CEO of the Chertoff Group, Chad Sweet, also a former CIA and also a former Department of Homeland Security Chief of Staff under former President George W. Bush. And Chad, we appreciate you taking the time to join us here on Live Now from Fox.
Good to be with you.
So I did want to start off with the very latest attacks from Iran as it hit a desalination plant in Bahrain. We've seen a lot of these, so-called kinetic attacks where Iran has actually targeted physical buildings and locations, as well as previously the AWS locations as well. When we take a look at this, can you outline the significance of these attacks and the strategy behind them?
Yeah, I think history is going to record that March 2026 will go down as a very significant evolution in modern warfare. Why? Because it will record that for the first time ever, we saw a physical attack on a target of digital infrastructure. As you said before, they intentionally targeted AWS's data centers in Bahrain and in UAE. It was a strategic surgical attack in order to...
Have you guys heard of the hypersonic missile? We're going to get into that today, too. Put a 1 in the chat if you've heard of the hypersonic missile. Put a 2 in the chat if you have not.
As you said, knock out not only regional capability that is supporting the Gulf states who are assisting U.S. forces, but some of those facilities are also rumored to hold significant data related to Israeli military operations. And so it's important for us to step back and recognize that nothing's off limits for the Iranians. They have now crossed a line that history has not seen before. And it's also interesting because historically, we have seen the Iranians, use a fairly, sophisticated level of cyber attacks, and that is one of their preferred weapons because it's the poor man's way of hitting David versus Goliath. And right now, what we're seeing, though, I think, is that because both we and our Middle Eastern allies have, over the last several years, in response to Iranian low-level cyber attacks, we've actually hardened our systems. So what's happening now is it's actually harder to protect against some of these physical kinetic attacks. And we're seeing that not only in the data center area, we're seeing it as well, as you said, in the other critical infrastructures such as water and power.
So as the technology continues to improve, it's interesting to your point is that Iran's now going back in time, so to speak, and targeting those physical locations that hub and house the data centers there as well. As we take a look forward, does this indicate to you, if at all, the future of Iran's retaliation strategy? Are they going to continue to go down this route, or do you think it's going to be a 1-2 punch and they're eventually going to switch over perhaps to some of these cyber attacks?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing is in the cyber area, normally they would have done a lot more before now. And the fact that they haven't is a tell. It's showing that, I think, 2 points. One is, as I mentioned before, the collective hardening of our systems by our allies and frankly, the U.S. private sector as proving to be relatively resilient. It's very difficult to be 100% perfect because our defenses have to be right 100% of the time, and they only have to be right 1% of the time. So it's an asymmetric threat that's very difficult to defend. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do see some successful Iranian attacks. I'm actually more surprised that we haven't seen any so far. We also know a few days, right before the attack itself, the United States and Israel used preemptive efforts to go ahead and reduce their ability to launch cyber attacks. And what do I mean by that? They actually took down the Iranian internet to only about a 1% to 4% capability, which muted their ability to launch attacks. And so we are, I think, going to see, to your question, Stephanie, if they can't get in and use attacks, particularly on IoT, Internet of Things systems, these are industrial control systems that when they attack, it would basically lead to a physical degradation in these critical infrastructures, much the same way that the United States did in the Stuxnet attack when we took down the Iranian nuclear centrifuges without putting a single boot on the ground. When they can't do that through cyber, now they're using drones and ballistic missiles. Why? Because with drones, for example, if they hit the systems, create a fire, let's say in the AWS data center, they can actually trigger the fire suppression systems, which then release sprinklers and the water damage. So if they can't get the effect that they want through cyber and the kinetic consequence of that, then they're doing it through these physical means. And we're going to see more of that.
And Chad, I also wanted to talk about this. Iran's president actually apologizing to neighboring nations for these attacks. When we take a look at the political landscape of Iran, it's not just one group. There are different fractions among the country, and now there is a power vacuum because the supreme leader was killed along with 40 other top leaders. As we hear this apology
they got
from Iran's
40 other top leaders as well. We're going to jump over to on Air Force One yesterday with President Trump answering some questions about the Iran war. Let's have a look.
Hello, everybody. It's a very sad day, and glad we paid our respects. It's a tough situation. Great people, great parents, wives, family, and a beautiful ceremony. I guess you got to see that, at least partially. Any questions?
President Trump, did what you just witnessed make you think differently about going ahead with this war or even putting troops on the ground in the Middle East?
We're winning the war by a lot. We've decimated their whole evil empire. It'll continue, I'm sure, for a little while. But very proud of the people, the parents. The parents were so proud of their boy, as they call him, my boy. In case the young lady. The parents are so proud. Many of them are military parents, as you know. So but it's always a very sad thing. The war itself is going unbelievably. It's as good as it can be. We have Pete here, and you have Steve Witkoff here. We have some additional questions.
You're 1 week in now, sir. You're 1 week in at this point. How long, as of now, do you expect?
Well, I think we've accomplished more in 1 week than anyone thought possible. We've wiped out their Navy, 44 ships. We've wiped out their Air Force, every plane. We've wiped out most of their missiles. You see, the missiles aren't coming much anymore. We've also hit their manufacturing areas where they make the missiles very hard. Their drone capacity is way down. And we've hurt them where it hurts, including about every...
Drone capacity is way down. We hit them where it hurts.
Every form of leadership you can have, we've wiped out.
You still expect up to 6 weeks total?
I don't know. I don't know. I never reject time, whatever it takes. But the military is almost non-existent, if you look. We could hit the military itself very hard, but maybe we will, maybe we won't. We haven't made that determination.
What do you think about gas prices? Gas prices right now? Are you worried about gas prices right now?
No, I'm not. This is a short excursion into something that should have been done for 47 years. 47 years it's taken to do this, and no president had the guts to do it.
And you're worried you're going to end up coming back to Dover for more of these such dignified transfers?
Sure, I hate to do it, but it's a part of war, isn't it? Who are you with?
The Washington Post.
Wouldn't you say it's a part of war?
The deaths are part of war,
yeah. It's part of war. It's a sad part of war. It's the bad part of war.
Mr. President, did the United States bomb a girls' elementary school in southern Iran on the first day of the war and kill 175 people?
In my opinion, based on what I've seen, that was done by Iran.
Is that true, Mr. Hegson? It was Iran who did that?
We're certainly investigating.
Still investigating.
But the only side that targets civilians is Iran.
We think it was done. We think it was done by Iran.
Can you give us an idea?
Because they're very inaccurate, as you know, with their munitions. They have no accuracy whatsoever. It was done by Iran.
Can you give us an idea of what unconditional surrender looks like to you? I mean, what do you want from Iran?
I said unconditional, not conditional. I said unconditional. It's where they cry uncle, or when they can't fight any longer, there's nobody around to cry uncle. That could happen too, because we've wiped out their leadership numerous times already. So it's if they surrender, or if there is nobody around to surrender, but they're rendered useless in terms of military.
Mr. President, can I ask you what Peter asked you a question yesterday? You said it wasn't the right time in that event, but he was asking whether you have indications of whether Russia is supporting Iran somehow in this.
No, I haven't had that. I haven't had no indication of that whatsoever. If they are, they're not doing a very good job, because Iran is not doing too well.
What about the Strait of Hormuz? There's no traffic really going through it.
Well, that's the ship's choices, but we haven't cleaned out. We've wiped out their Navy. The Navy is now at the bottom of the sea, so that's the choice. This is an excursion. We figured oil prices would go up, which they will. They'll also come down. They'll come down very fast, and we will have gotten rid of a major cancer on the face of the earth. We will have taken out a cancer. Don't forget October 7th. Don't forget all of the things that have happened over the years. All caused by these people. So what we're doing is a great thing, not only for our country and not only for Israel, not only for the Middle East, but for the world.
Secretary Bessent announced some moves to temporarily allow certain Russian oil sales to India. Are you considering any other moves, including the SPR?
Well, if there were some, I would do it just to take a little of the pressure off. But I think that the oil pressure, but there's a lot of oil. We've got a lot of oil. Our country has a tremendous amount, and there's a lot of oil out there. That'll get healed very quickly.
Would you consider using the SPR or tapping into the SPR at some point?
Strategic reserve?
Yeah.
Well, I'm the one that built them up. Biden used them so that he could get some extra votes in the election. It turned out it wasn't even him that ran, it was Kamala. And she obviously didn't get any extra votes because we won in an absolute landslide. So he should have used it for that. He used it I filled it up, and he brought it down to the lowest level it's ever been. We will start at the appropriate time, which is basically a gut instinct. We will start filling up the strategic reserves.
What are the circumstances where you'd send in ground troops? How are you thinking about that?
I don't even want to talk about it now. I mean, I don't think it's an appropriate question. I'm not going to answer it. Could there be? Possibly, for very good reason. Have to be very good reason. And I would say if we ever did that, they would be so decimated that they wouldn't be able to fight at the ground level.
Are you thinking about the oil facility there? There's an oil facility kind of on the coast of Iran that could be secured by ground troops. There's been some speculation that could be a target.
Well, I don't know what the speculation is, but I certainly wouldn't be able to tell you that. I'd be in trouble with myself if I told you that.
Mr. President, don't you need ground troops to secure the enriched uranium at the nuclear sites?
We're going to find out about that. We haven't talked about it, but it was a total obliteration. They haven't been able to get to it. And at some point, maybe we will. That would be a great thing, but right now we're just decimating them. But we haven't gone after it, but something we could do later on. We wouldn't do it now. Maybe we'd do it later on.
You said you want to be involved in the selection of the next leader of Iran. Can you talk to me?
Well, because I don't want to just come back every 10 years, and mostly you'll have presidents, that won't do that because they don't get it. But we don't want to come back every 5 years or every 10 years and do this. So we want to pick a president that's not going to be leading their country into a war. Do you have any questions for Pete or Steve? Come on up, Pete.
Mr. Wickoff?
Steve, come on up.
Mr. Wickoff, is there still space to do a deal with whatever is left of the Iranian government?
I think there is. I think that's going to be up to the president. That's what I think. But they didn't seem to be very amenable in those first set of negotiations. You heard what I said. They said we have the inalienable right to enrich. They bragged about having 60% enriched fuel, enough for 11 bombs. They told me and Jared, we're not going to give you diplomatically what you couldn't take militarily. So, I think they're going to need a change of attitude.
What sort of thing do you want to see in a deal? I mean, do you think you have maximum negotiating leverage at this point?
I think the president has proved that we have.
Iran today.
By the way, that is Steve Witkoff. He is the United States Special Envoy to the Middle East. Thank you so much, 86 GOP, for the 20 gifted memberships. Thank you, thank you. Welcome new members. You got some emojis there if you got a membership.
US
a lot of negotiating leverage, maybe maximum, but we're not looking to settle.
And
they'd like to
Steve Witkoff, the Special Envoy to the Middle East for the U.S.
settle. We're not looking to settle.
Iran accused
the British government has now offered use of some.
You don't see his face much.
The British government has offered.
Thanks again, 86. Welcome.
Use of some bases now, and you had previously said you were very disappointed in them.
The 2 aircraft carriers.
I mean, about British bases, they said.
See my response that I just put out? I just put out a response. Give me the offer to send 2 aircraft carriers. Maybe, but they're not sure. I just put out a response. I said,
going on.
We don't need them. It's not the right time. It would have been nice to have had them 2 weeks ago, but the response I put out, I think, says it very well for you.
Iran today accused you
us to also open the door to other strikes against them.
Look, in response to that allegation, did the U.S. hit the diesel?
They are among the most evil people ever on earth. They cut babies' heads off. They chop women in half. What they did, take a look at October 7th. Take a look at what they've done over the last 47 years. So I know nothing about a desalinization plant other than to say, if they're complaining about a desalinization plant, we complain about the fact that they shouldn't be chopping babies' heads off, okay?
Mr. Zukov, have you communicated to the Russians not to send targeting information and other assistance to the Iranians?
Strongly said that.
And do you believe that they are?
I hope they're not.
Do you see any evidence?
We don't know, but it's not doing very well. If they are, it's not helping much. If you take a look at what's happened to Iran in the last week, if they're getting information, it's not helping them much.
What would it mean to you if they were? I mean, even if it's not helping the Iranians particularly much, it's still involving themselves in a conflict that they're not directing.
They'd say we do it against them, wouldn't they? Huh? Wouldn't they say that? We do it against them. I don't know. Look, they can give all the information that they want, but the people they're sending it to are overwhelmed. Russia would be overwhelmed too. Anybody would be overwhelmed. We have the greatest military on earth, and I built it in my first term, and unfortunately, I'm forced to use it now. But when you look at what we did with Venezuela, when you look at what we did with the B-2 bombers, that was a very big moment because Iran was going to have a nuclear weapon within 2 or 3 weeks, and that stopped it, and it stopped it cold. And you ask about maybe going back and getting that, something could happen at the right time.
Is Iran running out of missiles and drones, or do you expect those counterattacks to continue with that?
Not only that, manufacturing capability also. We've hit the manufacturing very hard. They're at about 9% of what they sent out in the first 2 days, and we think that's because they don't have that much. We've knocked out about 70% of the launchers. The launchers are a big deal. Very hard to get, very expensive.
We want to talk about leverage. With every passing day, we have more and more leverage because we have more and more capabilities. We're hitting them harder and harder, and they have less of an ability to defend themselves. So we're pressing the offensive every single day, creating all the leverage the president needs for the outcome he wants.
So it sounds like you think they're running out of what are both of the drones and the missiles.
When you look, I mean, they're sending in much less drones. They're being decimated now. You know, at some point, I don't think there'll be anybody left maybe to say we surrender, but they're being decimated. And when you look also, all of a sudden they apologized to the Middle Eastern states that they shot at them. I was very surprised to see they did that, but you mark that down as a victory for us and for the Middle Eastern states who are really friends of ours. But I guess they're not going to be shooting at them anymore. They apologized, and we'll see what happens. But that's a big loss. That's a surrender right there. I called it a surrender tonight. When they apologized and said they're not shooting at them anymore, that's really a surrender to those states and to us. Okay, anything else?
Some Iranians are concerned that the Kurds will carve out kind of an autonomous region as they did in Syria and Iraq.
We're not looking to the Kurds going in. We're very friendly with the Kurds, as you know, but we don't want to make the war any more complex than it already is. No.
You've ruled that out?
We don't want, I have ruled it out. I don't want the Kurds going in. I don't want to see the Kurds get hurt, get killed. We've had a good relation. They're willing to go in, but I've told them I don't want them to go in.
Do you think the map of Iran will look the same?
The war is complicated enough without getting the Kurds involved.
And do you think the map of Iran looks the same after this is all done?
That I can't tell you. Probably not.
Do you know if any shipping companies have taken the U.S. up on its offer of insurance to go through the Strait of Hormuz?
No, we have it set up. We have a great insurance and reinsurance system, but I don't.
Sorry, when you talk about...
When this ends, we're going to have a much safer world, you know that. So, this is a minor excursion, but when this ends, we're going to have a much safer world, and we will have gotten rid of a lot of sick and demented people, the leadership. So we got rid of the one leadership, then we got rid of the second level of leadership. Now they're on their third or fourth level of leadership.
And they have leaders right now that nobody even knows who they are. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. We're going to go right now over to something about Netanyahu saying the moment of truth is approaching here in the Iran war. Hit the like button, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much, guys.
We begin our coverage this morning with Chief Correspondent Matt Gutman, who is in Tel Aviv, Israel.
For 7 days, the U.S. and Israel targeted regime leadership and military installations, but overnight, towering flames cast an eerie orange glow over Tehran after Israel struck what it said was an Iranian military fuel depot. Drivers on this highway detouring around the flames. Video circulating seems to show sewers and streets on fire as well. This morning, those fires still burning under blackened skies, a huge plume hanging over the city. And with over 1,300 dead in Iran, according to the Red Crescent, the country's clerics have now announced they are close to selecting a new leader. Support has recently crystallized around Ayatollah Khamenei's hardline son, Mujtaba.
The son
Israeli Prime Minister
selected.
Netanyahu's advisor, Michael Eisenberg, with a blunt message.
You know, the highest risk job right now is to be the new Ayatollah. That's a high-risk job. To be the head of the Iranian military, the IRGC, those are high-risk jobs. Don't take them.
They're going to be targeted.
Don't take those jobs. These are high-risk jobs. We're watching you.
The president.
We have an interview coming up of the foreign minister of Iran, the full interview. We're going to check out some of these Israeli oil strikes on the Iranian oil infrastructure here.
We are going to start with one of the biggest stories we have been following for over a week now, and that is the escalating situation over in the Middle East. Bringing us out to this, it's a live image that we have in Tel Aviv over in Israel. As I read some of the latest reporting courtesy of the Associated
We also have
Press,
a live shot in Tel
They say
Aviv.
this, that Israel on Sunday struck southern
we'll
Lebanon,
get to.
Beirut, and an oil storage facility in Tehran as the war in the Middle East keeps escalating. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu promised, quote, many surprises for the next phase of this conflict. Not only do we have this live look out of Tel Aviv, but we also continue to have a live look out of Beirut and Lebanon, where out in the distance you can see a bit of
Hit that like
smoke
button
there.
for me, guys.
It has been dissipating for the past several hours. The AP going on to say this, that Iran also hit a desalination plant in Bahrain. And earlier on Sunday, Iran's foreign minister said a U.S. airstrike damaged an Iranian desalination plant on an island, warning that in doing so, quote, the U.S. set this precedent, not Iran. Such infrastructure is critical for drinking water supplies in the parched deserts of the Gulf. And an Israeli attack on an oil storage facility in Tehran sent up pillars of fire that could be seen by some video courtesy of the AP as a glow against the Saturday night sky. It appeared to be the first time a civil industrial facility has been targeted in this war. Now, the war, which erupted on February 28th after U.S. and Israeli strikes hit Iran, has so far killed at least, more than 1,000 people, 1,230 at last check from the Associated Press, and those deaths were in the Islamic Republic. More than 300 in Lebanon were also killed and a dozen in Israel, according to officials that are following this matter very closely. I do want to keep us on this live image as we prepare to continue on this conversation with our next guest, so hang tight for just a sec.
Oh, we don't have to hang tight. We could just fast
recap
forward.
there right off the top of some of the things that we had been following for the last several hours. What really stuck out to you, and what really, out of all of those developments, could possibly change the trajectory of this entire conflict?
Well, I think, first of all, I mean, the very fact that Hezbollah joined in this conflict, given its domestic constraints, given the fact that, I mean, just over a year ago, they got out of a war that they got, they fell into. They didn't really expect their intervention in the Gaza conflict to turn into a full war. Decimated their political leadership, decimated most of their arsenal. And yet we find them again starting a conflict with the Israelis. And this suggests to me that they're sensing that the Israeli-American war in Iran is heading in a direction that's going to threaten the regime's existence. Otherwise, why risk the predictably furious Israeli response and the equally predictably furious response from Lebanese? again, dragging them into a foreign conflict. The one thing that could really change this trajectory is if the United States and Israel stop the war prematurely for whatever reason. If President Trump accepts any Iranian offer for negotiation, some kind of off-ramp that allows the regime to preserve its existence, lick its wounds from this conflict, preserve its existence, but then return back to the same behaviors that led us to this point to begin with.
I want to put up next here, it's a map of the region, just to give our viewers a bit more context as to some of the surrounding countries. Now, this conflict, David, as you know...
Everybody take a screenshot of this right here so you guys can have a sense of where the countries are and, how it relates to this conflict. The Strait of Hormuz, very important for oil production and delivery.
It appears to be affecting multiple countries across the Middle East right now. How concerned are regional governments about this risk of a further expansion when it comes to the fighting?
Well, I mean, I think it's expanded as far as it can already. There are attacks on the Gulf states. There's attacks in Iraq and Jordan. And Iran is saying that it's only attacking U.S. assets in these countries. But really what they're trying to do, and it's, first of all, not true, right? We've seen footage of attacks on, say, hotels in the United Arab Emirates and elsewhere. And what they're trying to do is kind of hit the soft underbelly of American regional power. The Gulf states are prosperous countries. They're not, they've had a history of war, say in Yemen, but they're not inclined towards fighting. They don't have that durability that, say, or the endurance the Israelis have built up from, unfortunately, decades of experiencing war after war after war. And what the Iranians are hoping is this harassment of the Gulf states will lead them to effectively cry uncle. And given their influence with President Trump, given President Trump's proximity to the Gulf states, they'll turn to him and say, President Trump, please stop this war in Iran. We can't take anymore. And again, that'll lead to a premature ceasefire that'll allow the Islamic Republic to endure everything that Iran is doing right now. I don't think they expect a genuine military victory in the conventional sense. They're trying to get what the United States and Israel to do to stop because they want the regime to survive. Again, not so they can come to a real modus vivendi with either the United States and Israel or the regional countries, but so they can go back to the business of regional destabilization, proxies, building up their ballistic missile arsenal, and of course, going back to rebuilding their nuclear program.
As we talk a little bit about some of these goals that Iran still has here in terms of where they want this to go next, and given the rhetoric, what we've heard from both the U.S. and the Israeli governments, I mean, is this something that Iran could achieve just to keep the regime alive and to continue on operations as they were before?
Achieving the regime's survival actually isn't that hard. It's a harder lift for the United States and for Israel, given we don't have ground forces in Iran, given the size of the country, given that this is a regime that's had almost 50 years to build up organizational depth. It's actually harder to achieve regime change, to destroy the proxies, to eliminate all of Iran's pathways for resurgence than it is for Iran to just maintain that bare thread that allows it to continue existing, at least the Islamic Republic regime, rather. And from there, look, then they'll wait until international conditions are more favorable. Maybe the current president becomes more preoccupied with domestic issues. The next president's not interested in the Middle East. They'll wait for an opportune moment. This is a regime that is defined by strategic patience. So if it takes 5-10 years, they'll wait for that moment when the eyes are off of them, and then they'll restart what they've been doing. So the goal now is just survive, and that's a very easy goal to achieve.
A lot of the conversation right now, or a lot of the major headlines, do follow these military dynamics, all of these military operations that are underway from all of these sides. But as we take a live look here out of Beirut in Lebanon, David, I want to talk a little bit about what we know given the humanitarian situation on the ground in several of these places that have been hit. I mean, what is the impact to civilians right now?
Well, we know that there's massive displacement. This war started with a massive and predictably ferocious Israeli response, as I've noted. But also the Israelis have issued several warnings now to the residents of South Lebanon. I think initially there were like 53 villages, and then they kept increasing the number. And then ultimately they said all of South Lebanon move north of the Litani River. Then this was followed by a call for the residents of Dahia. This is Beirut's southern suburbs, heavily Shiite area, effectively Hezbollah's nerve center in Lebanon. Move out of the area, move northward, move eastward. And then there were the areas of Baalbek that also, this is eastern Lebanon. There were calls for Lebanese to evacuate, Lebanese, again, Shiites, to evacuate westward. So basically move out of the areas where Israel alleges that Hezbollah has military assets, where it's operating. Now, the Israelis want to facilitate their military operations while minimizing the harm to civilian casualties. Hezbollah has a history of intertwining itself with the civilian population, intertwining its assets with the civilian population, which itself is a war crime. And the Israelis, what they're trying to do is say, get out of the way, guys, get out of the way, people, civilians, move out of the way.
Medical
so we
reasons.
we don't harm you, and we can facilitate the targeting of Hezbollah assets. But ultimately, this is going to result in what we've seen, about 300,000, I think the estimate is, displaced Lebanese. I mean, Dahia alone, where the Israelis have called for evacuation twice now, has a population of 500 to 700,000 people. They've not all cleared out, but we're seeing reports of massive displacement northward from the south, and already massive movement out of Dahia. The Israeli campaign is slowly being ratcheted up. I think there's more of a focus on Iran now, and I think there's also an attempt to give these civilians an opportunity to move out of harm's way. But again, the ultimate result is going to be massive civilian displacement. But it's unavoidable, unfortunately, given the way Hezbollah operates within the country.
Talking about Hezbollah, but also going further with some more of these Iranian proxy groups. I mean, we've mentioned Hezbollah quite a few times within this discussion because they've really put themselves at the forefront in this fighting and as it escalates. As far as other Iranian proxy groups, what do we know about how they're possibly placing themselves to also perhaps be involved in this fight as well?
Well, it's natural that Hezbollah would put itself at the forefront. This has for decades been the tip of the spear of Iranian regional expansionism. Everywhere that Iranian influence has expanded, Hezbollah has been there first. If we go back to the Iranian expansion of its influence into Iraq, Hezbollah was there first in 2003, according to the Iraqi militias, to help pave the way for that. In Yemen and elsewhere in Syria, obviously, when the Syrian civil war happened, Hezbollah was the first to fight there to preserve Iranian interests at the expense of hundreds of thousands of Syrians. Now, the other militias, the Houthis have been relatively silent. They made some statements, but they haven't intervened in the conflict yet. I think they're perhaps being preserved for last. We've seen the Iraqi Shia militias begin their attacks. Not only that, they've also engaged in mutual reinforcement. A colleague of mine, Joe Truzman, and I, we are publishing a report on the Iraqi militias, not just saying they're coming into the fight to support Iran and the Islamic Republic, but now also in light of the Israeli...
Well, my thoughts are, how about no war? That's my position on it right there. A couple people have asked in the chat, what is my opinion? No war. How's that? I like no war.
Evacuation warnings and strikes in Dahia to intervene on behalf of Hezbollah. They're drawing a red line on Hezbollah. So there's this mutual support, this interest in mutual survival between the proxies to ensure, again, mutual survival, but also the broader survival of the resistance axis and the Islamic Republic of Iran.
This is just some video I want to point out to our viewers. This is from just yesterday. As I read the latest reporting, we know these strikes do continue. These are the images that we were getting out of Tehran there. David, we've been talking also about some of the biggest global concerns right now. I mean, oil markets, shipping routes, the safety of U.S. and allied forces in the regions. But from your assessment here and from what we're watching closely, what are some of the biggest concerns for those regional countries there as well?
Well, I think, again, ratcheting up.
Do me a favor, put a 1 in the chat if you think we should have no war. Put a 1 in the chat, okay? Let's everybody get on board and get one thing straight, all right? How about putting a 1 in the chat for no war at all? How about that? John Lennon, imagine.
The pain that Iran can inflict upon them. I don't think we've seen everything yet, unfortunately, from the Iranians.
I think we could all be on the same page with that, right? As many people in here who's on whatever side and have different opinions, I think we could all agree on that, right? Let's start there. That's what this chat's for, different opinions.
The goal will be to gradually ratchet up pain
See that?
As long as this conflict continues, to get these countries to cry out even harder to say, that they want the war to stop. In some ways, this seems to be backfiring, though. Just
That's
before
good.
I came on, unconfirmed reports as of yet, but I saw that the United Arab Emirates, rather than call on Washington to halt its combat operations and you know, they have a peace treaty with the Israelis as well, rather than call on them to say stop striking the regime, we've had enough, they're engaging in attacks in Iran, which is unprecedented. I think what Iran is doing in the process of trying to save itself is actually proving the point that the Israelis and we've been making, we the United States have been making for so long, that they are not just a military menace or a threat to the United States and Israel, but also to all the countries that surround them. This isn't a matter of a few historical grievances. Iran is pursuing an ideological goal that threatens the stability of all the countries in the region. And I think the way Iran is reacting with reckless abandon in some ways by attacking these countries around it is waking them up to see that they can't just rely on the United States and Israel to do the job. They may have to intervene themselves.
Yes,
and if the reports are true that Emirati forces are striking in Iran, this process seems to be underway.
David, you've been talking about this throughout this conversation, but for my final question, if you could just hone in for our viewers what they should understand about the broader implications of this conflict in the Middle East and also how it's having that greater impact on the international community.
Look, if the Iranian regime is somehow, and I think we're far from there yet. Again, we could destroy Iran's military assets, we could degrade them severely, we could degrade their proxies severely, but achieving the regime's downfall, putting these proxies on a course of irreversible destruction or destroying them, we're still not there yet. But if that were to be achieved, the main regional destabilizer would be taken out of the equation. The main impediment to a lot of progress in the region, I mean, if you take Lebanon, which is the area that I focus on, look, Hezbollah isn't the source or the cause of Lebanon's problems, but it benefits from them so much that Hezbollah has become the main guardian of the corrupt system that has destroyed Lebanon through 1,000 paper cuts. Right? Lebanon is a country that is effectively a failed state. You know, the economy is in shambles now. There's been deep economic crisis since 2019, and it is all the result of a corrupt political clique that is holding on to the country, some of whom are Hezbollah's opponents. But ironically, when the system is threatened, Hezbollah will even come to the defense or will join forces. We saw this in the last municipal elections. Hezbollah joined forces with its political opponents to help preserve this corrupt system, but this corrupt system is destroying the Lebanon, again, through 1,000 paper cuts. We can apply this to Iraq. We can apply this to Yemen. Wherever these proxies exist, they're not interested in the prosperity of these countries. They're interested in self-preservation, and so often their preservation, because it depends on the weakening of the central states, because it depends on the lack of prosperity of these countries. Otherwise, they have no reason, right? The population has no reason to turn to these militias. They will reinforce or feed into or create the conditions that keep these countries corrupt, on their knees, lacking a path to prosperity, just so they can survive, just so they can promote Iranian influence and power in the region. So removing this regime and these proxies will set these countries, it'll give them the first, it won't fix everything, but it'll give an opportunity for this region to start on a course to move in a direction that is more prosperous and more peaceful. And personally, I hope we see that.
David Daoud with the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. We always appreciate your time here at Live Now on Fox, just to break down the situation.
New revelations there. So we had another service member killed in action here. So let's hear a little bit about that.
A 7th service member has died following injuries sustained during an attack on American troops in Saudi Arabia.
This is why there should be no war. This story right here, this is why there should be no war at all, ever. Okay?
Last Sunday. Joining us now on the phone is News Nation senior national security contributor, retired Lieutenant General Richard Newton. Just your reaction to this now 7th U.S. service member killed during this conflict following this dignified transfer that we saw of the other 6 fallen heroes yesterday afternoon.
Yes, Anna, this is gut-wrenching. I understand a U.S. service member passed away from injuries or wounds received during the Iranian regime's initial attack. My sources tell me this in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia on or about the 1st of March. And as you reported, this is the 7th serviceman killed in action under Operation Epic Fury. It reminds me of the fact, obviously, for generations we know this, and the currently serving generation of our brave men and women, all volunteers in uniform, that freedom is not free. I also harken back to the most solemn thing I've ever done in my career, much less my life, is to attend and officiate at a dignified transfer at Dover Air Force Base. I've done too many of those.
It's unrealistic,
so
but that's my opinion.
Whereby, yes, we have a 7th family now in the process of being notified. We won't know their name until that's been undertaken. I anticipate in the next 24 hours. But nonetheless, this is where we stand right now with our 7th killed in action.
As these numbers tick up, 6 yesterday, a 7th now, a 7th U.S. service member killed during this conflict.
Right.
It's making folks who have family members or friends who have been sent to the region just sitting on pins and needles right now. Nearly 50,000 troops are there right now. What's your message for them, and what do you think the president needs to say after this? Following Operation Epic Fury, he released that, I think it was about an 8-minute video, and he alluded to this, that, war is ugly and that there could likely be casualties, but that it would be for a noble cause. If it's your own son or daughter, it becomes a bit more difficult and a tougher pill to swallow. So what do you think the president needs to say to this family, but also to the American people?
I think what the president has certainly told the American people leading up to the campaign, as well as the fallen, the fact that he attended the dignified transfer of, if you recall, our 2 Iowa National Guard soldiers killed in Syria on the 1st, that DT on the 1st of December, along with an American civilian. And then obviously yesterday he was at Dover. Our hearts and our thoughts and our prayers go out to the American people. I think the president also needs to underscore that their service, their tour of duty, their sacrifice, and now the family members, they're now Gold Star family members, their sacrifice will certainly remain in our hearts and our minds, and certainly in the history of the United States forever. I go back to, again, the solemn role I played during a dignified transfer and met with these grieving families who are literally in shock at that moment, even on the tarmac at Dover Air Force Base. The fact is that I believe what the president will also say, and I would underscore to those family members, that their service was not in vain. Their service meant something to this nation. It meant something to their fellow members in uniform, and so forth. And the final point is we will continue to endeavor and prevail here. And so that, but the nation mourns at this very moment, and we hold their hearts in our hands and our thoughts and prayers at this time.
So we're going to jump over right now. I have a story that just came in here. It's from a couple hours ago. This is a missile strike hits Tel Aviv. Israel reacting to the new supreme leader choice.
He's in the Jordanian capital, Amman. Rory, so Israel was already planning to kill anyone who was selected as the new supreme leader. So how is this selection likely to be seen in Israel? How will the Israelis be reading this?
Not well.
We're yet to have any proper official response to this, but of course this is being discussed in Israel at the moment. And I think there are a couple of things to look at here. One is what that official response is likely to be, and the Israelis have pretty much telegraphed it already, because they have said that, as you just put it there, Darren, whoever comes into power in Iran is going to be a target. It doesn't matter whether it's the son of the former leader or anyone else. They are going to be hunted like they hunted the former supreme leader. For the Israelis, basically, the individual at the top doesn't matter. It's the system that is the problem. It's the regime that is the problem. And they won't change their approach to the regime until they feel that the regime has changed its approach to Israel. So essentially, plus ça change, things go on as they were before. Israel is going to carry on dealing with Iran in the way that it has approached it over certainly the last week or so, but also going back years. But then beyond all that, I think they are going to be looking at what this appointment says about Iran and the stability of Iran, because Let's remember that the Iranian Revolution swept away a monarchy, and now we have a system that is starting to appear, in some ways at least, dynastic. Does that mean that this is decay setting into the system? That's what the Israelis will be asking. Does this mean that the system has a loss of legitimacy in the eyes of the Iranian public? We only saw recently the huge protest that took place in Iran and the brutal crackdown of it. So these questions don't have answers yet, but they're the kind of questions that the Israelis are going to be asking.
Yeah, and away from the new supreme leader, Rory, just bring us up to date with the latest on Iran's missile strikes across Israel.
Well, we have, in the last half an hour or so, had the first waves of missiles to be launched since that announcement of the new supreme leader was made. We understand that those were targeted at central Israel and northern Israel. I think we've heard of one injury being reported so far, injured by falling shrapnel. Yes, that's correct, just south of Tel Aviv. But it was the sixth salvo of missiles on Sunday that has caused the most damage so far over the recent hours. Several people injured, one seriously in the Tel Aviv area. Nearby there, in a place called Petah Tikva, there were 5 more injuries, one of them moderately, a few more less severely. Across central Israel, there were at least 12 impact sites or damaged sites. And the police said that suggested that what had been launched against them was some sort of cluster munition. We've seen that happen over the last few days, cluster warheads being launched at Israel. But remember that Israel has a very tight system of military censorship at the moment over publicly available information, particularly when it comes to damaged sites when they are military sites, but also when they're civilian sites as well. The Israeli military wants to know who's reporting, where they are, what they're showing, and for them not to show things that they consider to be sensitive. But we can see that these missiles are still getting through, even though Israel is massively well protected. It's got American ships off the coast shooting.
It seems the Iron Dome isn't keeping everything out of Israel.
Down Iranian missiles. It's got countries that are under the flight path of those missiles that are shooting down, like Jordan, where I am at the moment. And Israel, as we know, has a highly competent air defense system of its own. But still, things are getting through. Having said that, considering the magnitude of this conflict so far over the last week and a bit, I think the damage that Israel has suffered has been relatively light, and that the Israeli government will be considering that, for the moment at least, this situation is manageable.
Well, we're going to jump over. We have the full interview from Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, and that is right here. We saw a clip from this yesterday, but now we have the whole thing. This is a very interesting interview, gives a lot of insight as to what Iran and the leadership there thinks of not only the United States, but its neighbors, its proxies. Let's give it a listen.
Araghchi, we thank you for your time. Who is in charge of Iran right now?
Well, thank you, Tom, for having me in your program. Well, I think the system is working very well. We have lost a supreme leader, but according to our constitution, there is now a council which takes charge of his duties. And then the president, the cabinet, ministers, everybody is in its position. So the system is working very well, and everybody, is in charge.
We know that there's been a council. We know that there's been a council to fulfill the duties of the supreme leader, but we also know that there's a selection process in play to pick the next Ayatollah. There are reports that Ayatollah Khamenei's son is a front runner. Is that true?
Well, actually, I don't know exact information. There are many rumors around, but we have to wait for the assembly of experts to choose the new supreme leader, and those experts are elected themselves by the people long ago, or every 6 years, and they will do their duty to elect the supreme leader. As I said, there are many rumors, but nobody knows exactly who might be elected at the end of the day.
If there is no Ayatollah yet, let me ask this again. If there's no Ayatollah selected yet, do you know when that new Ayatollah will be selected?
Well, there is a procedure set by the Constitution. And it may take some days
Have a constitution.
to be finalized. Of course, we are not in an ordinary situation. There is a war going on, an imposed war on us is going on, and there are, extraordinary measures taken for the sake of security. So it may take a bit longer, but the process is going on, and it is up to the Assembly to finally decide.
The world saw your battleship sunk in the Indian Ocean. Dozens of Iranian sailors died. Your response was, quote, "Mark my words, the U.S. will come to bitterly regret the precedent it has set." So what is Iran going to do? And at this point, given the state of your military right now, what can you do?
Well, first of all, that was a training training ship, which was invited by the Indian Navy to take part in an exercise, and they went there as their guests, the Indians guests, and they, did participate in that exercise, and they were in their way back home, and the ship was unarmed. So attacking an unarmed ship full of, training officers and sailors is, a war crime, I have to say.
What type of battleship, Minister, excuse me, but what type of military would allow a battleship into the ocean with no weapons on board?
Well, because it was, the goal was not, their aim was not going to war. They went for an exercise, which was arranged by the Indian Navy. There are so many other guests who went there, and they, took part in a parade. And, everything was a peaceful, training course or peaceful training process. So they didn't need, weapons. They actually went to that mission long before the war started. And when I said that the U.S. would regret that, I meant that they have, the U.S. have unfortunately set a precedent which is, against the international law and would actually damage the whole concept of international, law of seas. When an unarmed, ship is attacked with no reason, and a big number of sailors are killed without taking part in any battle, that would set a precedent. And
the U.S. The U.S. says it controls the skies, that Iran's ballistic missile attacks have dropped more than 80%.
Thank you, Walter, for the jewel.
The U.S.
Thank
has hit
you so
over
much.
2,000 Iranian targets. The Pentagon says America is winning decisively. Do you think they're wrong?
Well, I think, now 6 days after the war, it is clear that the U.S. Has failed to actually.
You guys feel like he's doing a little damage control here, trying to sort of, the 3-card money, trying to find the ball.
Achieve its main goal, which was a clean, rapid victory. They failed to achieve that, and now they are trying to justify why they did attack us, and they have, presented so many different reasons, but none of them worked. And now they are talking about, Plan B, and I believe that, their Plan B would be even a bigger failure. So they are controlling our sky.
They should have had some.
But at the moment,
Minister, your supreme leader was killed. Your top military leaders were killed. Your military installations have been bombed. How can you call that a failure?
Well, then what they have achieved? What was their goal? They came here for a regime change, perhaps. They came here for a rapid victory, so they can, control everything. But they have failed. The system is working. The commanders have been replaced, and the supreme leader is going to be replaced soon, according to the procedures set by the Constitution. So everything is in order. Yes, we have been targeted, but we have also have attacked so many targets in Israel, and so many targets belongs to the Americans, their assets, their bases, their installations in the region, and they have not been able to prevent those attacks. Our missiles are still working. Our missiles are still in place and hitting their targets in a very precise manner. So,
Minister, can Iran win this war? If I can ask you, can Iran win this war, and what does winning look like for Iran?
Oh, geez.
Well, there is no winner in this war. Our win is to be able to resist against, their illegal, goals, and this is what we have done so far. So they have failed to achieve their goals, and we have been able to resist against them, to stand against the most powerful army of the world, as they claim, together with Israelis, who are also claim to have the big army. Two of them are nuclear armed, but still the people of Iran, the armed forces of Iran, have been able to stand firm against them. They couldn't, stop us firing missiles to Israel and to other destinations. We are doing very well, and they have not been able to stop us. So this is our win.
Yeah.
And I don't think they can be a winner at the end of the day.
Minister, explain to us and to the world, really, Iran has chosen to attack at least 10 other countries, many of them your Arab neighbors. None of them were involved in this war. Why are you attacking your Muslim neighbors during the holy month of Ramadan?
Oh, please don't mistake. We have not attacked our neighbors. We have not attacked Muslim countries. We have attacked Americans' targets and Americans' bases, Americans' installations, which are unfortunately located in the soils of our neighbors. So we have made it clear for them. I have been in touch with their foreign ministers, and I have explained that we are not targeting you. We have no problem with you. We are only targeting the American installations and American bases. And the reason is obvious.
But Minister, Iran is hitting civilian targets, striking hotels, high-rise apartments, airports in many of these countries. Those are not military targets.
Well, no, we have targeted very well. The Americans are. Maybe there have been some collateral damages, as it is in every war. Look, more than 70,000 people were killed in Gaza by Israelis, and Israeli army called all of them collateral damage. So yes, there is the possibility of collateral damages in this situation as well. This is what we have warned everybody in the region beforehand, that if the U.S. attack us, we have no way but to attack their installations, which are in your territories, and then everything may go out of hand, and the war would become a disaster for the whole region. This is what we have warned, and many others have warned, and many Americans have also warned the U.S. administration. Do not repeat the same mistake. They have done it before in our region, and this is what they have done. This war is not our war. This is not our choice. This is a war of choice by the United States, and they should be held responsible for all those damages.
Minister, NATO said they shot down an Iranian missile, which Turkey says was in its airspace. Are you creating new enemies every single day?
Well, we have, our military has denied firing any missile to either Turkey or
There's
Azerbaijan.
video of the missile. There's video of the missile on the ground. NATO has said this was fired by Iran.
Well, there is no reason why we should fire, a missile to Turkey, which is a good neighbor of us. Also, there is no reason to fire, drones to Azerbaijan. We are investigating what has gone wrong regarding these missiles or drones. Maybe, they have come from other places. Maybe something has gone wrong, but we have no intention at all to attack Turkey or Azerbaijan or any other neighbor, any other country in our neighborhood. But we would certainly target Americans' bases and Americans' installations in the region wherever they are.
Minister, you just said that you had threatened before this started that the battlefield would expand if Iran was attacked. You are expanding the battlefield. Several countries, as I mentioned, have been hit. Is Iran's goal here to attack these other countries so they try to pressure the United States to stop bombing Iran?
No, this is not our goal. Our war is with the U.S. U.S. is attacking us on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, and we are defending ourselves. How we can defend ourselves when we cannot reach the American soil? What we can, attack to are American bases which are around us in the region, and they are scattered all around the region. And this is the, the natural, consequences of this war. This is because of the nature of this war. The U.S. is attacking us. They are killing our people. They are hitting our schools. In only one case, 171 school girls, students were killed by an American attack. Now they attacked our hospitals. Today they attacked sport stadium, and even they have started to attack our municipalities, local police stations, everything. So how we can protect ourselves, how we can defend ourselves by attacking American facilities and assets in the region wherever they are. So this is now,
Minister, Minister, you yourself are painting a very dire picture of what the situation looks like in Iran. Government buildings bombed, even sports stadiums bombed out, police stations bombed. How much longer can Iran hold on?
Well, we defend ourselves as long as it takes. It is obvious we are the victim of the act of aggression, and what we are doing is self-defense, and we have every right to defend ourselves. And at the same time, we have been able to hit targets in Israel and American bases, and they have also received bad damages. And there are footings of the damages they have been received. There has been damages. So this is a war, of course, and there are so many damages in both sides in any war.
But Minister, the damages obviously in Iran are much worse, right? We're talking about maybe a dozen victims outside of Iran, including 6 U.S. service members, whereas in Iran there are reports of nearly 1,000 people killed in Iran, and all those government installations, your government leadership, the government infrastructure, the buildings. This is not an equal battle right now. Would you agree to that?
Well, look at the damages inside Israel as well. They have badly hit by us. Of course, they are in control of their media, so they don't publish, the footages of the damages. But this is a war. But we have received, yes, damages, but we are not, the one who actually, we are the one who defend our dignity, and our dignity is important than anything else, and our independence, and we pay any price needed to protect our sovereignty and our territorial integrity and our dignity. And this is what we are.
Just getting here. This is Abbas Araghchi. He is the foreign minister of Iran, and he missed getting a missile in his office by just a couple hours because he went to Geneva. So isn't it interesting that he got out and some other people didn't? Thank you, Cece, for the jewels.
And this is what we did last time in June 2025, when for 12 years we resisted, and we finally forced our enemy to accept, to request for an unconditional ceasefire. And this is what going to be repeated this time as well. When they can,
So wait, Minister, please, yes, if you could just explain there. Are you saying Iran is going to request a ceasefire?
No, we didn't ask for a ceasefire even last time. In previous time, it was Israel who asked for a ceasefire. They asked for an unconditional ceasefire after 12 days that we resisted against, against their aggression. In the first days of war, they wanted us to surround. They wanted capitulation, but we continued defending ourselves. We continue hitting them by our missiles, and then it was them who first asked the United States to help them, and then they asked for an unconditional ceasefire. It was Israel who asked for ceasefire, not us. Again,
but
this
Minister,
time,
to be fair, Minister, to be fair, Iran signaled that it was going to stop firing as well. To be fair, you did signal that, Minister.
No. I never signaled that last time or this time. It was Israel who asked for a ceasefire, and we were fighting. And it was Americans who contacted me and asking to stop the war. If they told me that Israel is ready to stop its aggression, and they ask us that please you stop as well, and we accepted last time. But this is not going to be repeated this time. It is not, like that. That's every year they attack us and they kill our people, they destroy places, and then ask for a ceasefire. No, this time is different. This time there should be, the end of war and hostility. We don't accept ceasefire unless, they accept their responsibility for the damages they have made to us, and then they guarantee that this scenario is not going to be repeated, in the future. So this time is different. We resist to the end, and we can we don't ask for a ceasefire right now, and this is our position. And we have never signaled any ceasefire to Americans. We have never sent any
Minister,
messages.
just to be clear, Minister, to be clear, I want to make sure I understand you here. Right now, you're saying Iran does not want a ceasefire.
Wow.
We are not asking for a ceasefire.
Wow.
And we don't see any reason why we should negotiate with the US when we negotiated with them twice, and every time they attacked us at the middle of negotiations. So there is no request for a ceasefire by us, and there is no request for the negotiation with the US from us. We have never sent any messages to them.
Minister, you said that Iran cannot reach U.S. soil, right? The American homeland with the weapons that you have right now. Is there any other way that Americans should be concerned that Iran could attack the American homeland?
Over 3,000 people in the building. Hit that like button. Thank you.
Further than that, they have enough soldiers, they have enough, military assets, and they have enough military bases and military installations. So we don't need to go beyond that.
The Strait of Hormuz hasn't been closed, but the threat of its closure has disrupted the international economy. If this war continues, will Iran try to close the Strait of Hormuz?
But we have not closed it. It is the ships and tankers who don't try to pass through to cross the strait because they are concerned about being hit by either side. So we have no intention to close it right now. But as the war continues, we will consider every scenario. For the time being, we have not done yet. And but the strait is almost empty of ships and tankers because of their concern.
In this war, are international oil tankers potential targets for Iran?
No. Why they should be targeted? A goal for us.
Okay.
Iran threatened tankers in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran has already threatened them to set them afire.
No, we have not threatened them. They are concerned themselves, and they don't use the Strait of Hormuz because of the concerns they have to be hit by either side.
Is Iran privately talking to U.S. officials right now through back channels?
No.
There's no communication with you and Steve Witkoff or Jared Kushner?
No, not after Thursday that we met last time. We met last Thursday. We negotiated for almost 7 hours. They were so happy when they left the negotiation table because we were able to make significant progress, as the Omani foreign minister said in his statement, and he checked his statement with both sides, and both sides agreed with the term he used. And we were made really significant progress.
Reports say that Iran actually hit 10 oil tankers. So I don't know what he's talking about. That 10 oil tankers have already been hit. Drones have been shot down. I don't really think what he's saying is correct.
They were happy when they left, but I don't know what happened after they left.
This is damage control.
Geneva. And
President Trump has said, Minister, President Trump has said that Iran simply would not agree to a basic premise, which was they would not try to build a nuclear weapon. President Trump has said that. Is that your understanding of where the talks failed?
Well, no, it's really not understandable. I don't understand why President Trump repeating that. We have said it, in many different occasions. It is said by the late Supreme Leader. It is said by our president in many occasions, and I repeated that in the negotiations. And actually, the first principle we agreed was that Iran would never ever go for nuclear weapons, based on its security doctrine and based on the fatwa of the Supreme Leader. I said it many times, and I told them that this could be the first sentence in any deal that Iran commit itself not to go for nuclear weapons. And that is a permanent commitment, no sunset. This is something I have told them very clearly and very explicitly. This is out of question. We were,
and Minister, would you on that point, if that is the promise you made, on that point, would Iran allow inspectors to all of its nuclear facilities and to allow inspectors to do their jobs, which it prevented last time?
Of course, we are ready to give full access to the agency for their verification and monitoring. This is what we have done in the past. We are a committed member of NPT. The only time we have not let inspectors to come and visit is after the last June attack in our nuclear facilities. And we
but
told
Minister, the inspectors even said, before that started that they were not being allowed full access. They said that to the world. That is documented.
No, this is not. Show me that document. Before the war, last year war, we gave the agency access based on our commitments in the NPT and in the safeguard agreement. After the war, we told the agency that there should be a new protocol how to investigate, how to inspect and attack nuclear facility. Because the agency told us itself that there is no protocol, because there is no precedent, so there is no modality, there is no protocol how to inspect a facility which is bombed. And a nuclear facility which is bombed needs some parameters before they inspect that. There is the risk of radiation, the risk of environmental problems, the risk of unexploded materials. So we needed a modality, and we were engaged with the agency to achieve that modality. So beside that,
on that point, Minister, is Iran's nuclear facilities secure right now? Is Iran's nuclear stock load right now, is that secure as well?
Well, our stockpile is under the rubbles. We have not touched them after the last June war. And we have always told our interlocutors and also the agency that when we achieve a deal, the first thing we can do is to let to retreat the material out of the rubbles under the supervision and under the monitoring of the agency, so they can verify what is the latest situation of our material. Look, we are a committed member of NPT, and our program is peaceful, and we have no problem to build confidence about the peaceful nature of our program. This is what I told our American interlocutors as well, that when we come to a deal, we make sure that Iran would never go for nuclear weapon. We make sure that the
NPT is the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons Treaty. That was a treaty that they had signed. Enacted in 1970 and extended in 1995. So that's what he means when he says NPT, guys.
The agency could have full verification and we give access to them. So we don't.
As you know, President Trump disagrees with you there. I do want to get back to the war, though. Yes, Minister, we can. President Trump has not ruled out boots on the ground in Iran. Are you afraid of a U.S. invasion in your country?
No, we are waiting for them.
What?
You are waiting for the U.S. military to invade the ground troops?
Yes, because we are confident that we can confront them, and that would be a big disaster for them.
Wow.
So you're saying that Iran is ready and willing to take on the U.S. military if there were to be ground troops?
Well, we were ready for this war even more than the previous war. So you can see, the quality of our missiles, how much they are upgraded after the last war, because we learned lots of lessons. And we are prepared for any other eventuality, even, a ground invasion. So our soldiers are prepared for any scenario. When I said that we are waiting for them, it didn't mean that we are waiting for continuation of the war. No, but we have prepared ourselves to confront with any scenario, with any eventuality, any possibility, and we know that we can handle that.
Are your allies Russia and China helping you?
Well, they are supporting us politically and otherwise.
Oh boy.
Are they supporting you militarily?
Well, military cooperation between Iran and Russia is not a secret. We have worked with each other in the past, and that has continued, and will continue, I guess.
And they are actively helping you in this war?
Well, they have always helped us.
So I'm gonna understand that to mean yes, that they are actively assisting you in this war.
Look at that
I'm not
smirk.
going to
Look at that
give
smirk on his face.
the details of our cooperation with other countries right in the middle of the war.
Inside Iran right now, we've heard that the government is cutting off the internet. Why are you closing off information for the Iranian population while this crisis is unfolding?
Well, this is not the case. Almost, all Iranians have access to social networks. In some cases, for security reasons, we have, cut access to internet. Please do not forget that we are in the middle of a war, a very extensive war, and war has its own, rules and procedures.
But why cut off communication when people in your country maybe need information to get to safety?
As we all know, they cut off the internet so that people couldn't get the images out of what was happening to the protesters in Tehran.
Well, communication is not cut. All, social networks are working here and people are connected. As I said, sometimes because of, security reasons, in order to protect our people and protect our facilities, we may cut access to internet. But as I said, we are in the middle of a war, and we have every right to exercise some limits in order to protect our interests.
We know the people in Iran have gotten texts from the government saying not to go out on the streets. Are you afraid that the government will be overthrown?
No, we haven't sent those messages. Of course, when there are the possibility of bombardments, the possibility of attacks by American or Israeli fighters, we ask people to remain in their shelters, to remain at their places, not to go to the dangerous sites. That is quite normal. Again, we are in war, and we have to be careful about the security of our people.
You saw those massive protests. The world saw the protests as well. There are reports that tens of thousands, up to 42,000 Iranians were arrested, hundreds killed, even children imprisoned. Is Iran right now at a critical point, and is the government nervous that the end is near?
Well, we are not nervous at all. We had 10 days of protests in early January, and then for 3 days from 8 to 10, we had terrorist operation, and we were able to handle that. We were able to take care of that, and it was finished and over. And since then, we have a very peaceful environment. Don't look at those gatherings or demonstrations outside of Iran, but inside of Iran, everything is in order. And life was going on before the Americans attack us. And now people are in support of the government and system. We have now more social solidarity amongst the people. You can see many people in the streets either during the night and
thank you for the super chat, Jimmy Dean.
For mourning ceremonies for the late Supreme Leader. So, we have no problem at all, and we are not nervous at all.
We've seen that the children's school was struck in Iran. We know that more than 150 people have died. Many of them were children. The U.S. says it's investigating. Do you have any evidence about where this missile came from?
Well, the details are investigating by our army, but it is clear that the missiles were.
He mentioned that there was no help from Russia. We're going to take a look over here. Is Russia helping Iran with the war against Israel? Let's listen.
Back to CBS News 24/7. I'm Mugo Odigwe. No deal with Iran except unconditional surrender. That is a new warning from President Trump this hour.
We'll get back to the interview.
Comes as Israel announces a new phase in the joint war, heavily bombing Tehran and Lebanon overnight. And Iran, for its part, continues to hit back with missile and drone fire across the Persian Gulf. Meanwhile, there's new video from the U.S. Central Command. They say it shows Iranian targets being, quote, decimated by U.S. forces. The new push from the U.S. commander of CENTCOM, who's leading the charge in the Middle East, is to raise or level Iran's ballistic missile industry. Let's bring in CBS News Pentagon reporter Eleanor Watson. Ellie, before we get to what we heard from the admiral, you have some breaking news on Russia's potential involvement in this conflict?
Yeah, Mugo, multiple sources tell CBS News that Russia is providing Iran with information about U.S. positions in the region. A partnership between Iran and Russia is not necessarily new. We saw Iran provide hundreds of Shahed drones, the type of drones it makes, to Russia for Russia to use in Ukraine. But so far in this war, this is the first involvement of some sort of Russian information, and that brings in another party into this war that does threaten to expand.
Yeah, and now let's go back to the U.S.
So there you go, confirmation on reports that Russia is actually helping. They have a couple of missiles. Right here, he was also saying, and we're going to go back to the interview with the Iranian foreign minister, but right here you could see there were actual threats on tankers in the Strait of Hormuz. This is where the circle is right there above me, that circle in the middle. That is the Strait of Hormuz.
Threatened a U.S. tanker, but thankfully U.S. air defenses were able to de-escalate the situation.
And all this comes just days before planned nuclear talks between the U.S. and Iran. Lucas Tomlinson joins us live in Washington with all the details.
So that could sort of confirms that he's saying not exactly maybe the truth.
The school was hit by Americans.
So he's saying the school was hit by Americans. They're saying Americans are saying it was hit by somebody else, that Iran actually hit it.
War crime to hit
how can you say that? Do you have evidence that you can show the world?
Well, I have to ask our military to do that.
So no.
And how do you know it was a U.S. missile?
Well, this is what our military said. So it is either U.S. or Israel. What is the difference?
It couldn't be a wayward Iranian missile, an Iranian missile launch that made a mistake?
Our mistake? No, even the United States authorities confessed that it was them who attacked this facility. So just look at
the U.S. military hasn't. The U.S. military hasn't said that yet. They said they're investigating.
So they are investigating, and they will. They have to admit that it was they who targeted this school.
Okay. Right now, I'm being told by our producers that eyewitnesses are saying there are multiple explosions that can be heard in Tehran. At this moment, do you hear those happening?
Well, I didn't hear right now. Yes, I have heard those explosions before, but right now that we are speaking, I didn't hear that.
You haven't heard that. And have you gotten any updates about the latest damage in Tehran today and tonight?
Well, as I was told by our authorities, today they have hit some municipalities and some military installations. But that is quite understandable. We are at war, and this is what we do with Israelis and American military bases. And they are attacking us as well. No, look, again, I have to emphasize, we are, defending ourselves against the aggression by Americans and Israelis. That is the act of aggression against us. It is unwarranted, unprovoked, illegal, and unjustified. And what we are doing is absolutely legal and legitimate.
As we sit here and talk, Minister, so much of Iran's leadership has been killed. Do you fear for your own life?
Well, everybody may fear for his life in the time of war. But, you know, I am doing my job. I am doing my duty. And I would be, you know, honored if my blood is shed for the sake of my country. But for the time being, there is no fear of that. Well, we have, you know, we have taken enough, you know, measures to protect ourselves. And, well, I am doing my duty to protect the interests of my country, and I will continue to do that.
Can you confirm, is former President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad still alive?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't have any exact information. I heard some rumors 3-4 days ago that he might have been, hit by missiles, but I don't have any exact information.
Has no one in the Iranian government heard from him? Nobody can confirm he's still alive?
Uh-oh. You are talking about Mr. Ahmadinejad?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, as I said, I don't have any exact information.
Minister, the White House will likely see this interview. What is your message to President Trump?
Well, my message is that their plan A to achieve a clean, rapid victory in Iran has failed. We heard that they are thinking of plan B. I'm sure the plan B would even a bigger failure.
Oof.
They lost the opportunity of reaching a deal, a good deal. They lost it for, I don't know, reasons, different reasons. So there is no way that they can win this war. As long as it takes, we resist. So they better to stop this war and stop killing our people.
Do you have a message for the American people?
Well, for the American people, this is an absolutely unnecessary war. They are dragged to by those who want Israel first and America last.
Who is directing the military right now, Minister?
Who is doing what?
Who is directing the military?
What?
Well, there are commanders in their places. All those who have been martyred have been replaced by another, military commander. So everybody, all those posts are, the commanders are in their posts.
Okay, 2 more questions. Axios, a media company in the U.S., is reporting that President Trump says he wants to be personally involved in choosing who leads Iran next. What do you say to that?
That is absolutely the business of Iranian people.
Okay.
And nobody can interfere.
Minister, can you still there, right? You can still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Did you hear what I said?
Yes. I heard what you said. Thank you. This will be our final question here. You just said a few minutes ago that there will be no more deal. Is Iran done forever negotiating with the Trump administration?
Well, the fact is that we don't have any positive experience of negotiating with the United States. Especially with this administration. We negotiated twice, last year and this year, and then in the middle of negotiations, they attacked us. We negotiated a deal in 2015. After a while, the US decided to withdraw with no reason, no justification. So we don't have any single, good experience of negotiating with the United States. So we see no reason why we should engage once again with those who have who are not honest in negotiation, and they do not enter into negotiation in good faith.
Minister, we thank you for your time. I hope we can speak again in the coming days and weeks.
Now let's go right over to hear about this hypersonic missile that they have in Iran. They say they're waiting for U.S. ground troops. Let's take a look. The hypersonic phase has just started. This is very interesting.
The hypersonic phase just started. Everything you've watched until now, the carrier group retreating, the THAAD radar destroyed, the Patriot batteries cut in half, the cluster missiles over Tel Aviv, the oil refineries burning across the Gulf, all of that was Iran clearing the path. The path is now clear. Iran has just launched the Fateh hypersonic missile. And if those words don't immediately tell you why the next 72 hours are the most dangerous in this conflict, let's break down exactly what that weapon is. Because once you understand the physics, you'll understand why every defense contractor, every Pentagon general, and every Israeli military commander is sitting in an emergency meeting right now with no good options on the table. Hypersonic means Mach 15, 15 times the speed of sound. That's approximately 11,500 miles per hour. A conventional ballistic missile travels at roughly Mach 5 to 7 on its descent. America's Patriot interceptors were engineered to hit those speeds. The THAAD system was built around that threat profile. Every defense algorithm, every intercept calculation, every response protocol in the American missile defense architecture was designed for an incoming threat moving at a speed that hypersonic weapons exceed by a factor of 2 or 3. But speed is only half of why this missile cannot be stopped. The Fateh is maneuverable. It doesn't fly a predictable arc. It changes direction mid-flight, adjusting its path after launch in real time at 11,500 miles per hour. Traditional missile defense works by predicting where an incoming projectile will be in 30 seconds and putting an interceptor in that exact location. The Fateh doesn't stay in the location you predicted. By the time your interceptor arrives at the calculated intercept point, the Fateh is somewhere else entirely. In the range, 1,600 to 1,700 kilometers. From Iran's launch positions, that range covers every American base in the Gulf, every Israeli city, every naval asset in the Arabian Sea, every piece of infrastructure that this entire conflict has been fought over. 100% bypass capability against every American defense system currently deployed in the region. That's not Iranian propaganda. That's the technical specification of what Mach 15 plus maneuverability does to systems engineered for Mach 7. Now here's the strategic picture that makes this launch so significant beyond the raw technical specifications. Iran's campaign had 3 phases. Phase 1, deplete American interceptor stockpiles using cheap weapons. Accomplished. Phase 2, destroy the radar and early warning systems that give those interceptors their targeting data. Accomplished. 25 to 30% of American early warning infrastructure is gone, and half of all Patriot systems in the region are destroyed. Phase 3, once American defenses are blind, depleted, and degraded, deploy the weapons that couldn't have been stopped even at full American defensive capacity. That's today. Phase 3 is today. Israel's Iron Dome is operating at roughly 50% effectiveness. America's ground-based defense systems in the Gulf are at close to 0 effectiveness. The radar systems that would guide interceptors toward incoming threats are offline or destroyed. And into that gap, into the specific window Iran spent weeks methodically creating, the Fateh hypersonic missile is now flying. The 100-foot deep reinforced concrete bunkers that Israeli military leadership retreated to when conventional missile threats became unbearable? Iran has stated clearly those bunkers are now targeted. Hypersonic warheads, with the penetration capability of the weapons now in the air, don't stop at 100 feet of concrete.
So
the engineering math on
100 feet of concrete.
Bunker busting at hypersonic velocities is not favorable to the people inside the bunker. Alongside the Fateh, Iran simultaneously launched the Qadr missile, a weapon in the Shahab 3 category with a 2,000-kilometer range and long-range strike capability designed specifically for maximum destruction against fixed military installations. 2 weapons, different profiles, complementary purposes, launched simultaneously to split defensive attention between threat types at the precise moment defensive capacity is at its historic low. This is not improvisation. This is the execution of a plan that was written before the first cheap drone ever launched. And here's the detail that should make every American taxpayer genuinely furious. Iran just hit an Amazon data center in the Gulf. Not a military target, not a weapons depot. The cloud computing infrastructure that American corporations invested billions building across the Middle East, digital assets, financial systems, corporate data networks, is now being systematically dismantled alongside the physical military infrastructure. Iran isn't fighting a military campaign anymore. Iran is conducting a comprehensive demolition of American presence, military, financial, technological, and economic, across an entire region simultaneously. and the weapons doing the demolition right now cannot be intercepted. Iran's president made a statement. Trump heard it, twisted it, claimed it was an apology, declared victory. Within hours of that statement, while Trump was still telling the world Iran had blinked, Iran launched the Fateh hypersonic missile package and hit Gulf targets that made clear no apology had been issued, no ceasefire had been agreed, and no de-escalation was coming. This is the gap between the information war and the actual war.
So this is the super weapon that Iran has, and their strategy could be exactly what this guy says. I saw this earlier. I'm going to put the link in the chat so you can go to this channel.
And understanding that gap is critical, because a significant portion of what Americans are being told about how this conflict is going is built around managing domestic political opinion, rather than accurately representing battlefield reality. Think about what we know versus what we're being told. We're told American casualties at targeted installations number in single digits. What we know, direct missile strikes on fully operational military bases, the kind of strikes being documented on video, do not produce single-digit casualties when thousands of personnel are present. The physics don't allow it. Soldiers on those bases know the real numbers. The people treating the wounded know the real numbers. Journalists trying to access those facilities are being blocked because the real numbers end the political cover story.
Hit that like
button. We're told
button.
Iran's missile capability is being degraded. What we know, Iran just deployed hypersonic weapons it was specifically reserving for this phase, indicating the campaign is proceeding on Iran's timeline, not being disrupted by American or Israeli countermeasures. We're told Israel has destroyed 60% of Iranian missile infrastructure. What we know, Iran's missile systems are underground in hardened tunnels and dispersed locations that satellite imagery cannot fully map. If 60% of Iranian missiles were truly destroyed, the rate of inbound fire would have decreased dramatically. It has not decreased. It has escalated to hypersonic. The information war is being lost alongside the actual war. Now, let's talk about Europe, because a new and genuinely alarming development just changed the conflict's geometry. Italy, France, and the United Kingdom are deploying warships to Cyprus and the broader eastern Mediterranean. European NATO members, who have been watching from the sidelines while their energy situation collapses, are now sending assets toward the conflict zone.
And there's a lot of talk about the missile stock that we have, the armaments that we do not have enough in the United States because a lot of them have been used. So that would be a good strategy. Wear them out with cheap weapons. So we're going to see how this pans out, right?
Now, preparation for potential participation if the conflict expands. Here's the situation those countries are deploying from. Russia has cut gas supply to Europe. Qatar, which was Europe's alternative LNG supplier, has suspended shipments because Qatar's own infrastructure is under attack. Europe is heading into an energy crisis of historic proportions, without Russian gas and without Gulf gas simultaneously, for the first time in the post-war era. And rather than using that desperately vulnerable moment to pursue de-escalation, European governments are sending warships toward the conflict that is causing their energy crisis. Iran's response to this was immediate and unambiguous. Anyone who enters this conflict will be treated as a combatant.
So we're going to jump over to some more coverage about this missile. Fascinating stuff.
Of war in West Asia with no signs of it slowing down. Iran is challenging the United States and Israel on the battlefield, drawing attention to its missile arsenal. Iran's missile arsenal...
She's a little slow. We're going to go back to the fast guy.
European naval assets in the eastern Mediterranean are now potential Iranian targets. The conflict that started as a regional Middle East confrontation has just acquired a potential European military dimension. Russia, watching all of this, is doing what Russia does best in moments of Western strategic overextension. Nothing dramatic, just waiting, holding the gas supply hostage, watching European governments make decisions under energy duress that they would never make from a position of security. The leverage Russia couldn't achieve militarily against NATO, European governments are handing over voluntarily by choosing confrontation over negotiation while their populations freeze. Meanwhile, the Gulf states, the countries caught in the physical center of all of this, are working back channels frantically to find an exit before the hypersonic phase fully develops. Iranian president's statement, whatever Trump claimed it meant, contained a real message directed specifically at Gulf leadership. Stop allowing American forces to use your territory to attack us, and we stop attacking you.
And that's just the bottom line. The places that they're attacking are their neighbors in the Middle East, but they are attacking the bases. So naturally, they want to get rid of the bases. They want to get rid of the strategic advantage that the United States has with these bases placed in these other Middle Eastern countries.
That message landed. Gulf states heard it. And right now, behind the public statements and the diplomatic, careful language, every Gulf government is having the same private conversation. How do we ask America to leave? without it looking like we're asking America to leave. Because here's what they know that their populations are only beginning to understand. The American military presence that was supposed to guarantee Gulf security has done the opposite. The bases that were supposed to deter aggression have attracted it. The alliance...
We got to talk about now. We got to, we're talking about missiles. We got to talk about the nuclear stockpile. This piece is about America basically mulling over, going and getting all of their nuclear capabilities and just grabbing them. So here we go.
Operation Epic Fury continues. Axios is now reporting that the U.S. is weighing sending special forces to seize Iran's nuclear stockpile.
Special forces.
According to the report, the U.S. and Israel have discussed sending the troops to secure the country's highly enriched uranium at a later stage in the conflict. But it would likely only take place after Iran cannot mount a serious threat to the forces involved. UN Ambassador Mike Waltz signaled this may be under consideration.
Unlike his predecessors, both Obama and Biden, President Trump is never going to take options off the table. I'm a former special operator. We have troops and assets that are focused on seizing weapons of mass destruction if needed and if so ordered.
Joining us now, former Navy SEAL and author of The Fourth Option, Jack Carr. Jack, thanks for joining us. I think it'd be important to point out you also wrote an amazing book on Beirut, just in your words and probably my opinion, kind of the root cause of a lot of this, or at least the opening salvo. When we talk about this, I think a lot of Americans don't understand military strategy, as they shouldn't. I understand that. But we use this term boots on the ground, and I think everyone goes to a vision of 100,000 troops sitting at al-Assad. And I think that this conversation is both premature and it's kind of semantics because it goes in a completely different direction. We're talking about using strategic units to accomplish strategic goals, not unlike what we saw in Venezuela, where we find out after they're in and out less than setting up bases and that kind of thing, or at least that's how it seems to me.
Well, that's right. And I saw that video of Ambassador Mike Waltz earlier talking about this. And of course, those of us who are on the ground there, as soon as we hear boots on the ground, we're immediately skeptical. But in this one here, one of our main objectives is to ensure that Iran will never have a nuclear weapons capability.
That's what it is. The whole point of this is for Iran to not have a nuclear weapon, but they got these hypersonic missiles.
That was supposed to provide protection has delivered war. 40 years of a security arrangement just failed its most important test. And the hypersonic missiles in the air right now are the most compelling argument anyone has ever made for a different arrangement. 57 Islamic nations. That's how many Muslim-majority countries exist in the world. 57. With a combined population of nearly 2 billion people, combined military budgets running into the hundreds of billions, combined oil and gas reserves representing a significant fraction of everything the global economy runs on. Not one of them is standing militarily alongside Iran right now. Iran is fighting America and Israel simultaneously. The two most militarily sophisticated nations in the Western Alliance, backed by NATO's industrial base, American weapons manufacturing, and Israeli intelligence infrastructure, entirely alone. And it's winning. That fact, more than any individual missile strike, more than any oil price number, more than any political development, is the thing that is going to reshape the next 50 years of global history. Because what Iran is demonstrating, alone, under sanctions, with a fraction of America's defense budget, is that the military supremacy the United States built over the last century is no longer the unchallengeable reality it was assumed to be. Every country in the global south is watching this and doing math. The math goes like this. If Iran, fighting alone and sanctioned for decades, can destroy half of America's Patriot systems in a week, drain the THAAD interceptor stockpile below operational effectiveness, force a carrier group retreat, destroy a $1 billion radar installation, launch hypersonic missiles that no deployed American system can intercept. What does American military alliance actually protect you from that you couldn't manage yourself? That question doesn't have the answer it had 5 years ago. Now let's talk about what comes next for the global economy. Because while the military developments dominate the headlines, the economic consequences are what will reach into the daily lives of every person on Earth, regardless of where they live or what they think about the geopolitics. Oil is at $95.
Link in the chat for this channel. It is called Money Over History. All right, so this is Money Over History. Make sure you give these guys a sub. They do have a lot of great videos that they're putting out with a different point of view. I like that.
Today, the trajectory model based on current Gulf storage capacity, production cut timelines, and shipping disruption puts oil at $120 within weeks. $150 is now discussed as a base case, not an extreme scenario. And $200, a number that would have been considered catastrophic speculation 3 months ago, is now appearing in serious financial analysis as a tail risk with non-negligible probability. Here's what $150 oil does to the world's production economy. Samsung manufactures smartphones in South Korea. South Korean manufacturing runs on energy. Energy in South Korea comes significantly from imported oil and gas, both of which are now supply disrupted. When Samsung's production costs spike, Samsung's phones get more expensive. When phones get more expensive, the entire consumer electronics supply chain reprices. Your next phone costs more.
Let's get some of President Trump's comments on the partnership, the alleged partnership between Iran and Russia. Let's have a listen.
We had a chance to ask President Trump about a new superpower joining this fight on the Iranian side of Epic Fury.
President Trump, it sounds like the Russians are helping Iran target and attack Americans now.
That's an easy problem compared to what we're doing here. I mean, but can I be honest? It's just, I have a lot of respect for you. You've always been very nice to me. What a stupid question that is to be asking at this time. We're talking about something else. Can we keep this maybe a little bit?
And just a few minutes ago, the Iranians confirmed Russia is helping.
Are you receiving any help from Russia?
Well, we have a strategic partnership with Russia.
So that's a yes?
And, well, a military cooperation between Iran and Russia is not something new. It's not a secret. It has been in the past and it's still there and will continue in the future.
General David Petraeus, retired four-star general. What should President Trump do about this?
Well, he should ask Congress to pass the sanctions bill that is in the Senate. Senator Lindsey Graham has led the effort, very close to President Trump, of course. He has over 90 out of 100 senators supporting it. It would be a very powerful signal to Russia. It would complement what the EU has done, which has been very impressive in this regard as well. And I think it's long since time that the sanctions are slapped on Russia, especially now that apparently they're providing the intelligence, which is so very important to the targeting that Iran does. They do not have the kind of intelligence that Russia can share with them and is apparently, and that explains some of the accuracy of the missiles and the drone strikes.
And
so we have a
Epic Fury
confirmations of the assistance of Russia with Iran. Let's go over here. You know, there was that NBC interview, which is a little bit different than the interview we saw before. Apparently, Abbas, the foreign minister of Iran, is making the rounds in the press. He's doing the press junket. So let's hear this side.
Welcome back. And joining me now is the Foreign Minister of Iran, Abbas Araghchi. Mr. Foreign Minister, welcome to Meet the Press.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for being here. I have to ask you the big question on everyone's mind. Who is in charge in Iran right now?
Well, it is already known. The council of the interim leadership council is now in charge, and they are doing their act in the absence of the leader, while a new supreme leader is going to be elected soon by the Assembly of Experts. And the president and the cabinet are also are doing their duties. Parliament, everything is in its place.
Well, there are reports this morning that the Iranian Assembly of Experts has come to a decision on a new supreme leader for Iran. Many have suggested it would be the son of the late supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei. Will he be the next leader of
Jimmy
Iran?
D, thank you for the super chat again. We're going to put that up.
Nobody knows. Actually, there are lots of rumors around, but we have to wait for the Assembly of Experts to convene and vote for the new supreme leader and the one who is elected by them.
Do you think he should be the next leader of Iran?
Well, anybody which is elected by the Assembly of Experts would be the next supreme leader of Iran. And as you know,
we already know who that
members of the assembly are already, elected directly by the people.
All right. Well, President Trump says he should pick the new leader of Iran. Will Iran allow President Trump to have any role in picking its new leader? He's going to say no.
We allow nobody to interfere in our domestic affairs. This is up to the Iranian people to elect their new leader. They have already elected the Assembly of Experts, and the assembly of experts would do the job. It is only the business of the Iranian people and nobody else's business.
President Trump says there will be no deal with Iran except for, quote, unconditional surrender. Will Iran agree to unconditional surrender for the sake of bringing this war to an end, Mr. Foreign Minister?
It is the sun, yes.
Well, this is what he asked previous time, last year in June, that when Israel started to attack us, President Trump used the same phrase, unconditional surrender. That was the tweet he made. And that didn't happen. We resisted, and after 12 days, Israelis asked for unconditional ceasefire.
As you can see, he's got a photo of the deceased late Supreme Leader, the Ayatollah Khomeini, is right there. His son is the one who was brought. You go back to the beginning of the video. We covered that already, but his son has been chosen to be the new Supreme Leader. I don't know. How many days do you think that guy has, chat? How many days do you think the new Supreme Leader has? I'm going to go with 5. What do you guys think?
Fire. So we never give up. We never surrender. And we continue to resist as long as it takes. We continue to defend ourselves, and we are defending our territory, our people, and our dignity. And our dignity is not for sale.
Well, let me ask you, because what conditions would Iran
There's a council. That's a good question. And chosen by whom? They have a council of about 80 people that does the voting to choose this. They've said they're not going to let any country interfere with their domestic affairs. No to Trump choosing the new leader. They're saying bring on the ground troops, let the Marines, let the Rangers, let them all come in. That's what they're saying.
To an end.
Well, actually, we are not at that point yet.
The super chat, Jimmy Dean.
Obviously, this time is different from the previous time.
Facts.
Last time we accepted the ceasefire.
It's true.
But this time is quite different, and the reason is obvious.
Very true.
Last time they attacked us, they made aggression against us, they killed our people, they destroyed our places, and then asked for a ceasefire. And we accepted out of good faith because we were only exercising the act of self-defense. And when the aggression was stopped, we stopped too. But it didn't bring about peace. And now this year they again started to attack us. And again they have they are killing our people. They are killing girl students, they are attacking hospitals, freshwater desalinations, refineries, everywhere. People have been killed, places have been destroyed, and now they want to ask for a ceasefire again. Well, this doesn't work like this. So there should be a permanent end of the war. And unless we get to that, I think we need to, continue fighting for the sake of our people and our security.
We are going to get to the reports about some of the deaths in just a moment, but just to stay on this topic, would Iran ever agree to a ceasefire to get back to the negotiating table to end all of this military conflict?
Well, they have to explain why they started this aggression before we come to the point to even consider a ceasefire. Of course, nobody wants to continue this war. This is not our war. This is not the war of our choice. This is imposed on us by the United States, by Israelis. They have, started this war unprovoked, unwarranted, illegally. And what we are doing is legal act of self-defense, and we have every right to do that. So it is not fair that if only it stops the aggression and ask us to stop too. As I said, this time is different.
Let me ask you about some of what Iran
sounds like high school. This guy
has been doing. Iran has launched hundreds of missiles at 13 other nations in the region. On Saturday, the Iranian president apologized for those strikes on neighboring Gulf states. Was it a mistake for Iran to attack its neighbors?
We do news a little different around here.
Well, it is a mistake if you consider that Iran is attacking its neighbors. No, we are not attacking our neighbors. We are attacking American bases, American, installations, American assets, which are unfortunately located in the soils of our neighbors. So
you are attacking your neighbors then. This guy really tries to spin quite a bit from reality.
We are not attacking our neighbors.
Facts and the reports that we're seeing.
We are attacking Americans who are attacking us. We are retaliating. We have not started this war. It is Americans who started this war against us, attacking us, and we are defending ourselves. So it is obvious that our missiles cannot reach the U.S. soil. What we can do is to attack American bases and American installations around us, which are unfortunately in the soils of our neighborly countries.
But Mr. Foreign Minister, if you're not attacking your neighbors, why did the Iranian president apologize?
Well, first of all, apology in our culture is a sign of dignity and strength. Secondly, he apologized from the peoples of the region for the inconveniences they have faced because of this aggression by the United States and retaliation by us. So as a matter of fact, it is in fact the President of the United States who should apologize from the people of the region and Iranian people for the killings and destructions they have done against us.
Let me ask you, because NBC News is reporting that Iran is receiving help from Russia to help locate U.S. forces. Are you receiving any help from Russia?
Here we go.
Well, we have a strategic partnership with Russia.
So that's a yes?
And, a military cooperation between Iran and Russia is not something new. It's not a secret. It has been in the past and is still there and will continue in the future.
Is Russia helping you locate U.S. forces?
Hit the like button.
To be very clear here.
Well, I don't have exact military information. As far as I know, we have a very good partnership with Russia.
So they are helping you. They are providing intelligence.
Well, they are helping us in many different.
Well, that's his job. I mean, he's the foreign minister, but he's also the spokesperson. So he's really trying to spin this in the most positive way for everybody over there in Tehran, the leadership, the council, the new supreme leader. He's trying to package it to sell it. And I don't know, put a 1 in the chat if you're buying it. Put a 2 in the chat if you think he's full of doo-doo. All right, 1 in the chat if you agree with this man and he's telling the truth. 2 in the chat if it's absolute garbage. I'm going with 2.
Directions. I don't have any detailed information.
Okay, let's move to the strike on the elementary school in southern Iran.
Bad Bunny's daddy.
It killed more than 170 people, including many children. President Trump said Iran is responsible for that strike. What is your response to what the president said?
A spinmeister.
Well, it is funny. It is our school. These are our students, our girls, and they are attacked by an American fighter, a jet fighter, and they have been killed. Why Iran is responsible? Have we started this war?
Fly.
Have we attacked our own people?
Look at that chat fly.
No, we were negotiating with the United States. And in the middle of negotiations, in the middle of diplomacy, they decided to attack us. And they have attacked so many places, including schools and hospitals. And there are all evidences that this school is attacked by an American, jet fighter.
Where is the Iranian evidence that this was a U.S. attack, a jet fighter, as you say? Will you provide
it? If it was not U.S., then who was that? Maybe Israelis. But it is obvious who else is attacking us.
Well, let me move on to this question about.
There's definitely video of whatever missile strike they're talking about on whatever school that they're discussing. There's going to be video. There's going to be evidence. There's going to be proof. So that needs to be shown. If he's saying that it was U.S. the U.S. or Israel, then where's the receipts, right? We need receipts.
Potential ground troops. You said earlier this week on U.S. ground troops to my colleague Tom Yamas, quote, "We are waiting for them." But President Trump says the condition for sending troops to Iran would be that Iran, quote, would be so decimated that they wouldn't be able to fight at the ground level. Is the president right? Would you not be able to fight at the ground level, Mr. Foreign Minister?
Well, at least this is not the case right now. For the time being, we are capable enough. We have very brave soldiers who are waiting for any enemy who enter into our soil to fight with them and to kill them and destroy them. So, and that would be the case in the coming days and the coming years, and always in our in Iran. We are brave people. We have a
What do you think about Trump choosing and having a say in choosing their leadership, right? Just like he did in South America. I mean, does he have a say? Put a 1 in the chat if you think Trump should have a say in who the new leader is. Put a 2 if you think he should stay out of it and mind his own business. So 1 for Trump picking the new leader of Iran. 2 if he should just leave them alone to their sovereignty. I'm going with 1. I don't think they can be trusted. This is me.
Civilization. We have defended our land for thousands of years, and we continue to do that as much as it takes.
Let me ask you, because you have said that this was a war of choice. President Trump said one of the reasons for launching this war was that Iran, quote, already had missiles capable of hitting Europe and our bases and would soon
Look at that chat go.
have missiles capable of reaching America. Was Iran planning to directly attack the United States?
That chat looks like the wheel on The Price is Right. It is spinning.
Well,
very nice.
This is not true.
Thank you, everybody, for engaging and participating.
This is, in fact, misinformation. We have capability to produce missiles, but we have intentionally limited ourselves to below 2,000 kilometers of range because we don't want to be felt as a threat by anybody else in the world. We have not started any plan to increase the range of our missiles more than what it is right now. So there is no evidence, there is no intelligence, nothing to indicate that Iran is going to long-range missiles, let alone those missiles who can reach the United States soil.
All right, and of course, U.S. officials say that negotiations over this came to a halt, and that is part of why they moved forward with this action. Minister Arachi, thank you very much.
That was Minister Arachi, the foreign minister from Iran. So let's jump over here. Let's have a look at some of the war footage or the drone attacks and some of the missile strikes. We're going to run that for a little bit. Oh boy. Incoming. Whoa. 好多好多好多。过来。好多。 Up that way. Up that way.
ايوه عكس.
There you go. Oh! Oh! Business going up in business. Cars in the... Oof. Oh, shit. Oh. It's Tehran.
یه دونم پشتشه.
It's Tehran. Unbelievable. Let me know where you guys are viewing from. Let me know where in the world you guys are viewing from. I appreciate that. Put that in the chat, guys. Let me know where you're from.
Friday in an expanding
I'm in Los Angeles. Where are you guys?
conflict with Iran-backed Hezbollah that has sent tens of thousands of Lebanese fleeing their homes.
Beirut.
Everyone in Beirut's densely populated southern suburbs was given Israeli orders to leave. Civilians in parts of southern and eastern Lebanon have also been told to evacuate. It is a major expansion of the war against Iran that it began a week ago alongside the United States.
Where do you go when you evacuate? Where?
Lebanon was pulled into the war on Monday when Hezbollah fired rockets at Israel to avenge the killing of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. That ignited a new Israeli offensive against what is Iran's most powerful regional ally. The United Nations has warned that the number of...
You know what? I come on at this time in Los Angeles, I get much more of an international crowd, a lot of Aussies, a lot of Canadians. So welcome, everybody.
Displaced people in Lebanon is expected to rapidly increase, with about 100,000 already cramming shelters. Jamal Saifuddin, who fled Beirut's southern suburbs, said people were sleeping on the street, in cars and on the beach. Israeli tanks and troops were visible operating in a bombed-out village in southern Lebanon. Hundreds of Israeli troops were also seen, setting up fortifications on the Israeli side of the border fence. Israel has intervened in Lebanon repeatedly over decades, most recently in a campaign that weakened Hezbollah in 2024. But the ferocity of Friday's strikes had little precedent, even in the long history of war in the Lebanese capital.
Okay, this is for my Aussie friends, and I want you to respond, Aussie friends. Ready? Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. There you go. Oi, oi, oi. There it is. There it is. here. Take a look at some of this. Wow. Oof. Big move. Oh, shit. There you go. That's for my Aussie friends. Hit that like button. So we have a new supreme leader in Iran stepping into power for his daddy, all right? While wars erupting across the Middle East and Trump and Netanyahu are demanding full surrender. I mean, just straight out, full surrender. Wow, look at this. Of the full surrender, it's not just another headline. This is actually a pivot point in this conflict. So the choice is made over these first days and weeks by Tehran, Washington, Jerusalem, every capital watching. We'll decide whether this becomes a contained, brutal chapter or the opening act of something much bigger and much harder to stop for millions of people from Tehran to Tel Aviv to every front line in between. This isn't theory, all right? This isn't just a theory. This is their future. This is their life. So I'm going to be tracking every major shift, statements from the new leader, military moves, back channel leaks, and any sign that someone is actually looking for an off-ramp. So hopefully they are. And I'll be back live the second the trajectory changes. If you want to stay ahead of this instead of waking up to whatever it turns into, make sure you're subscribed. Turn on your notifications so you get all of my videos, because I'm going to do some horizontal coverage as well. So you're going to want to catch that. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Leave some comments for me. All right? Reach out and let me know. Does this supreme leader make you more hopeful about avoiding a bigger war, or more certain that the worst is still ahead? So I want to thank everybody for watching. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the gifted memberships and the gifts and the jewels. I thank you all for liking and subscribing. Welcome new members. Hit that notification. Stay informed, stay grounded, and remember, leaders change, but the people living under their decisions are the ones who pay the real price if this goes wrong. So thank you once again for joining me. This video and this live stream has over 375,000 views. And it's all because of you guys. So thank you so much for supporting me just by being here. And if you went the extra mile and threw a couple bucks in, I so much appreciate you for supporting this channel. I can't tell you how much it means to me. So hopefully there will be some peaceful resolutions here. It doesn't look like it, but hopefully soon. Remember, guys, take care of each other. Truth is a moving target, and I will see you on the next one. Have a good night. Be safe, guys. Thank you so much. Good night.